Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Talking about my nose and bruschetta is definitely breaking up the monotony.
Big topics.
In my room. Well, we were talking about Super Bowl snacks. So
Next week, I'm going to have a telestrator, and I'm going to diagram Pete's storage room.
Pete's storage area. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Logger Room. It is Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete, Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
How the hell are you tonight?
I don't know anymore.
I'm
you don't
good.
know us either.
Depends on who you ask.
This is true.
I'm very excited for two reasons.
We could tell.
You could,
Why?
much more so than my usual.
Jovial self.
I got the several weeks ago. I got the big chair, the heavyweight chair that can actually hold me without collapsing.
Gotcha.
And today I got the rollerblade wheels for it.
The rollerblade wheels.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I saw this, heard about this on a podcast, and saw someone else was talking about it. Absolutely worth it if you have a chair that you have any trouble wheeling around. And mine is on carpet. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking of getting one of those, plastic mats you put on the floor.
Sure.
But somebody said, don't get a mat, get the rollerblade wheels for the chair. You just pull the old ones out, and stick these in, and I can actually wheel around now. Whereas before I almost busted a thigh muscle trying to push the chair back from the. So I'm very excited about that.
That's awesome. My chair, it can move a little bit easier than that. It doesn't have the rollerblade wheels, but it's on carpet. But my problem is if one of the wheels spins around and comes off the carpet under the desk, then when I go to back up, it's like stuck on the carpet. It won't.
Oh, right.
Bending the carpet up with it.
This can't happen with these wheels. There's no way it's getting stuck on the carpet.
I'm just looking at Harry's face. He's like, these guys talking about wheels and carpet.
I'm
right now.
just telling you.
Wow.
Listen, when
It's
you're
a slow sports week. What do you want?
when you're me, it's exciting to be able to have greater mobility.
I know what it's like to have good casters. Good casters.
Good
casters are important.
If they make a jazzy office chair, you're going to see me go to the moon. That's going to be the most
You need the
exciting
air.
thing
You
ever.
need the air on chair. I have an old office chair, and I did need to replace the casters, and that was one of the places that I went to. And I like the caster store, and that tells you everything you need to know about me. That I am excited about going to a place that only sells casters.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and I'm thankful that we still have a place like that. I'm thankful that there's a guy in there who knows I can bring my caster. He tells you which one you need.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have
It's
to
all
worry.
about. It's all about the matchup.
It's all about the caster master.
Yeah.
The caster master. Gotta love it.
And the other reason I'm very excited
Yeah, what's
is
this?
I'm testing out this touchpad.
Okay.
Because I've been having a little pain in my wrist with the old trackball, which
Gotcha.
I'm a big fan of the trackball and I've used for years.
Mhm.
But I've been having a little.
Carpal tunnel issue?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's. I injured this wrist a number of years ago and didn't get it fixed correctly, so I already have issues with it.
Gotcha.
But I've noticed I've been having some pain from the trackball, so I'm testing out the old trackpad
The
now.
old
Kind of like it.
trackpad. There you
I
go.
kind of like it. It's a very interesting thing.
So you got rollerblade wheels and
They got
trackpads.
rollerblade wheels and a trackpad.
Very nice. Oh,
That's
there you go.
nothing more exciting than that.
Not in my world, and that
There you
tells you all you need to know about me.
That's all you need to know right there.
I understand.
If I had gone to see the caster man to get these wheels, I got them online, but that would have really been even more exciting. But other than that, I don't think it's hard for me to think of a week where I've had more excitement than this in recent memory. And that is sad.
This is true. So, well, this past Sunday was All-Star Day instead of All-Star Weekend. All-Star Day.
Yeah.
I gotta hand
Obi.
it to Pete. On our on our special All-Star Weekend NBA corner show we did last Friday night. Pete said the number he's looking at for the over/under is 320.
Yeah, all right.
How did you do that?
I'm gonna stop you right here because I was right on. Who the hell knew about this? We're gonna stop the fourth quarter after 5 minutes.
Well, they did that last year.
They did do it last year.
I didn't know. I didn't watch last year.
I didn't remember. I saw it. I didn't remember. I didn't remember.
So
okay.
They would.
So what? So because you didn't know the numbers are invalid now.
Well, to be quite honest with you, if they didn't do that and they just played an entire fourth quarter, the score
I would have been wrong.
It would have been 360 or more.
And I would have been right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I did not.
But how did you nailed it though? You said 320, 320.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it was.
What's the?
Did you call LeBron and say,
Well, me and Prime were talking about it.
Oh, Prime, okay.
And he's he gambles occasionally, and he had a formula. And no, I didn't factor the fourth quarter 24-point thing into the mathematical calculations, but I knew that it was going to keep the score. I figured it would keep the score a little bit lower than normal, and I think it was on pace. I forget what the halftime score was, but it was on pace to.
At halftime, it was on pace. It would have been like 360 or 370.
360 or 370, Bo. So, and I do remember thinking last week it was odd that no one was mentioning that about the fourth quarter. So,
I totally forgot.
So I decided not to mention it either. So it was more. It was as much luck as anything else, but just in general.
I'm going to be totally honest. This is the first All-Star game I think I've watched since 1987.
I've watched every All-Star game. Most years I've watched not the whole thing, parts of it. Put it on the beginning, watch the first quarter, maybe the first 5 minutes, put it on towards the end of the game just to check it out and see what happened. That's really all I've done. This is the first All-Star game in its entirety that I've watched probably since the early 90s. Realistically, since the early 90s. Since 93, 94 maybe.
You mean you guys didn't have a healthy debate with your friends last year about the fourth quarter scoring system of the NBA All-Star game?
No. I know diehard basketball fans who I think some of the players, the way LeBron was shooting layups, I think told you everything.
Right.
I just don't think anybody cared.
No, nobody cared.
With the exception of maybe Giannis.
Giannis.
Which in a game when nobody plays defense and nobody is going to step in front of anybody driving to the lane.
It's certainly easier to not miss a shot, but it's not super easy to not miss
and the
shot.
people that we said were going to be the most efficient and score the most points were Steph Curry and Damian Lillard were both magical.
Yeah.
Kyrie had a nice night.
I mean, the half court. Yeah,
Curry was hitting half courts all night long.
Dame did it first, and then Curry came down. I mean, I think they both.
Dame did it first and last too. The last shot was the half court too, but
yeah.
But that's look, that's part of what the All-Star game should be about anyway. Is we do that. But yeah, listen, how do we feel? I mean, Giannis, to me, it seemed like he kind of went in there and said, "I want to win this MVP."
Yeah, he wanted.
How do we feel about that? Like, are you kind of a dick if you do that, or are we all?
Is there anybody more suited for? I mean, other than like Damian Lillard, who didn't start. Or Steph Curry. Is there anybody other than LeBron who's more suited in today's NBA to win an MVP in an All-Star game than Giannis? I mean, nobody steps in front of him in a real game, let alone an All-Star game. And he hit 3 of 3. He shot 16 of 16, scored 35 points in 3 quarters, and shot 3 of 3 from behind the arc.
He did.
Yep. Yeah, he went there to put on a show, and that's exactly what he did.
Well, he wanted to hold up a trophy, and that's the only trophy he's ever going to hold up.
Well,
unless he goes to Brooklyn in a month.
Well, yeah.
In 2 years, yeah.
It's the only trophy he's going to hold up as
a Buck
in Milwaukee. Yeah. As a Buck, it's the only trophy he's going to hold up.
Right. So, but hey, you know what? He put on a good show.
He did,
and Curry did too. I mean, let's talk about the contests for a second.
Mike Conley.
Yeah, the what you call it, 3-point Curry.
But I mean, it was really close. Came down to the last shot.
Yeah, came down the last shot.
Curry won it on the last shot.
And it was Mike Connolly's first All-Star game.
Yeah.
And he was a sub. And so, I was happy for him.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was definitely good. The slam dunk. There's people saying that Obi Toppin got robbed.
Obi Toppin dunks were. I mean, look, he was a foot taller than the other two contestants,
right?
And his vertical is like 3 feet shorter than the other two. So, like when Obi Toppin, he's great in I got the ball on the post and I'm going to dunk over somebody, but in a dunk contest, come on.
When he almost kissed the rim,
Well, that was the 15-year-old that did that. That wasn't Obi. That was what's his name? Simmons.
Simmons,
yeah.
15-year-old.
I was like, watch your teeth. It's like be careful. You don't want to kiss the rim.
I was expecting that. Just the way when they showed it in slow motion when he went up and he's like, "Whoa, what the hell am I doing?"
Yeah.
But
is it incredible to say that I was bored by the dunk contest? Like, these guys are so amazing now.
I know
that it's just like, I don't know.
I think Obi Toppin could have done a couple of other interesting things, like the one over Randall and his father. I
missed some of it. Obi Toppin did not get robbed. He didn't
get robbed. I don't
think so.
Well, you know what? He lost by 1 vote, right? Because it came down to 3-2 at the end, kind of thing. So It's like it was right there, and it was. He's a rookie. It's his first. It's his first All-Star game. It's his first slam dunk competition.
Oh, he'll be back.
He'll be back. He'll win.
He'll be back for more dunk and extravaganzas.
And he come up with some other interesting things too. It was weird that it was just 3 people.
I don't know. I honestly, is there anything that we really care less about than? I only cared about it because I picked him because we're on this podcast.
Right.
I would have had zero interest in the dunk
at all.
The only All-Star game which is worse than the NBA All-Star game is the NFL Pro Bowl. I actually kind of like the Major League Baseball All-Star game.
Yeah, I watch the All-Star game.
But baseball is a sport where they can kind of compete in an All-Star game. It's basketball, football. It's like, all right,
Yeah, what is that?
It's
watch them do the way they did it this year from now on, just like the virtual one. They name everybody, they go there and hang out, and then they play a computer game. Sure. That's it from now on.
Yeah, but, I think that's how they ought to.
My big takeaways from the All-Star weekend was don't go to the barber right before the All-Star game. That's about it.
Yeah. You know what? Cut your hair afterwards.
Yeah.
Or get a Flowbee. Do it yourself.
or bring the barber in and have him tested.
Yeah, why don't they have an in-house barber?
You would think they would,
I mean,
have one of those.
The same thing happened and almost happened with the Chiefs before the Super Bowl.
Right.
So
bring somebody in, test them, then you know that they have it or not, and
right.
I don't know. Bring them in and quarantine somebody for
2 weeks. Yeah. Exactly.
Bring a barber or just for a couple of days, right? Because I guess you could have it, and then if you get the test the next day, then it could come back negative, right? So you bring somebody in, quarantine them for 3 or 4 days to give if they happen to have it, then it has time to germinate, and you test them. So if they're negative, they're negative, and then everybody gets their haircut.
There you go. That's good.
Well, in a game where 3-point shooting and no defense was the cure, I'm not sure if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid would have anything to add. Although Joel Embiid is a much better 3-point shooter than Ben Simmons.
Right.
So
and Simmons is an excellent defender, so
right.
But he wasn't going to
defend. Nobody's playing defense.
It might have been 317.
Kawhi Leonard's an even better defender. Kawhi came in the game and was like, "Can I take a nap?"
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna go sit over here. And
no one
relax.
was enthused about this game.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the exact breakdown of players who didn't want to do it at all. I think LeBron, obviously the biggest name on that list, showed up to be a good soldier, but he did not want to be there, did not think it should happening, and was very vocal about that.
4 really easy layups. I was just like, oh, God.
So I don't know what the breakdown was, but I would imagine there were a number of players who were they were just there so they didn't get fined. In the immortal words of Marshall.
I'm sure after 18 years or whatever it is, LeBron's pretty sick of All-Star games. But I mean, the young guys were probably pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
there were 3 blocks by Team LeBron, and there was 0 blocks by Team Durant.
Yeah, you would think that would be a higher number with those superstars. How about what's his first name? Sabonis. winning the skills competition, which apparently has been won by some big men in the past. I don't know who though, but I saw an article.
He's a big man who looks like a small man. He's an interesting player. He's one of those guys in the league that I just don't think enough people know about. You know?
Yeah, and something told me too. He went first against Randall, and Randall obviously did.
Randall shouldn't have been in the skills.
He didn't give a damn. He didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
But the way everything flowed for Sabonis, and he just I was like, you know what, he's gonna win this, and he did. But he looked good against it. But yeah, Julius Randle did not care. He was happy to be there. He's like he was literally, I think he was like smiling and laughing while he was
shot 100% from the floor. Yeah. 2 for 2 in like 10 minutes. 4 points, 10 minutes. Couple rebounds.
He was
and listen, Obi Toppin said it was like a thrill of his life that LeBron came over and knew his name.
Yeah,
he said, "How's it going, Obi?"
Yeah, LeBron knows my name. Yeah.
Which look, I mean, that's probably he should be right. How old is he?
21.
21 years old.
I thought he was 23 actually.
It doesn't matter.
He did all 4 years of college.
He's young.
He's still young.
So he's 22 or 23, right. And he's in the NBA, and he's at the All-Star game, and LeBron comes over and says hi and knows his name. I mean, that should be a huge thrill in your life, shouldn't it?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean,
you would hope. You would hope LeBron would know his name. Imagine if he came over and said, "Hi, who are you?"
Yeah. What are you here for?
Yeah.
I'm always.
Can I help you?
I always enjoy players.
He just turned 23.
He just turned 23.
Happy birthday!
I always enjoy young players who, aren't too big, too full of themselves, aren't too big to be impressed when they're around superstars. You hear it a lot more in baseball. Guys that ask for other guys' autographs, or they go, oh my God, they talk about one of the All-Star, one of the greats in the game, and they go, I was standing right next to Ken Griffey Jr. And it's a thrill of a lifetime. And it should be. I mean, these are people that you grew up kind of idolizing, right? They're young guys. LeBron's been in the league how many years now?
Right. Yeah, I mean, when LeBron was a rookie, Obi was what, 5, 4?
Yeah, something like that, right?
Probably, yeah.
So these guys are your idols, and all of a sudden you're, in essence, you're on, in some sense, the same level. In that you're both in the NBA, right? You're both at the All-Star game, and that's got to be and it should be a huge thrill.
You have to put it in perspective. These guys are so young that they were born after grunge was a thing. So I mean, it's just like they're babies.
They're
babies. Even these guys that we call old guys in the league, they're still pretty young in the grand scheme of things.
But I always
they're pretty young, but
always like seeing the kids be impressed.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was an interesting All-Star weekend. Still Sunday day, whatever you want to call it.
Was it? I mean,
you know what?
Could you have lived without it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
something to do to break up the monotony.
I'd rather watch Game 7 of the 93 Knicks Bulls. I don't know.
It wasn't appointment TV, but
no,
right.
If you didn't have much else to do and you had some good snacks,
this is true.
It wasn't an unenjoyable way to spend the day. And look, there were other things you could have done if you needed to run out for half an hour and run some errands or whatever. You could do that and come back and go, "Oh my God, I didn't miss." You wouldn't be so distraught because you missed the tail end of the dunk contest.
Sure. Well. On that note, on Team Durant too. We talk about Giannis leading or whatever, but Beal led Team Durant with 26 points. Yeah. And was it like there was 10 players in double-digit scores? Well, there have to be, right, for 320 points. You would think. So,
Giannis had
when the
85.
When the highest point total was 35. It's not like Giannis scored 120 by himself. So
yeah, Giannis had 89, and then the 4 other guys
had 40, and that was it.
Right, exactly.
But in any event, well, it was interesting. Let's put it that way. But
Well, now it's back to business.
Now it's back to business. And speaking of business, before we get into business of any teams and game starting tonight, you guys see this stuff that's going back and forth between Draymond Green and Charles Barkley? I mean,
No, I
Barkley's
haven't
going
seen
back at him
anything
too,
about
but
it. No.
yeah, I'll just throw this up there. Draymond Green was quoted as saying he also can't talk basketball, when referring to Charles Barkley. He also can't talk basketball with me either. He's not smart enough. He's not qualified. He has no rings. He can't sit at this table.
Which table is that? The table, the table where you're at the kids' table for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson,
right?
And
yeah.
Kevin Durant.
You know what? He has no rings. You have no rings either without Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and Kevin.
Wouldn't it be great if he had a time machine? It would just be great to take the whatever Sixers that where Barkley was like in his third year before, and just put him up against Draymond Green now.
That would be great. I would love to see that. Here's a question for you, Draymond. How many league MVPs do you have?
Yeah.
You know, you got more than Barkley?
Well, did Barkley say something?
He's been going back and forth, but Draymond started it. Draymond started it.
Draymond started. Barkley's always been kind of a supporter of Draymond Green. He's always been the guy kind of talking him up a little bit. I mean, Barkley always has something to say, but Jesus, I mean, I think Draymond Green is the main reason why I just always wanted the Warriors to lose. He's such an annoying asshole.
He is. He really, really is. And it's probably gonna, I was gonna go to Subway the other day. Now I'm not. No, so. But
you live in New Jersey and you're gonna go to Subway for
I'm
a
kidding.
sandwich.
It was a joke. Of course, I'm not going to Subway for a
sandwich. That's like going to Papa John's for a pizza.
My father would find out and like shoot me through the phone or something.
Yeah.
Well, although if that were the case, that would be the most damaging of the damage that Draymond would do. He's messing with the sponsor's livelihood.
Exactly. Right.
Listen, we didn't care what he said when it was making the news and he was feuding with Barkley, but if he's going to affect our sales, then we got to get a hold of this and not nip this in the bud.
I could name about 100, maybe 200 players who don't have rings who would be in the conversation way ahead of any of Draymond Green at any point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it gives us something to talk about, though. So
it does. It gives us fodder for conversation. That's important.
So. Yeah. I mean, I turned on ESPN this morning and I was just like, okay, this is a slow sports day.
Super slow.
If they didn't sign Dak Prescott, then there would be nothing to talk about.
Yeah, there'll be interesting things to talk about in football for 5 minutes, if that. In any event,
Dak signed, and I mean, we all knew it was coming. Come on,
but as far as staying on basketball for a second, the Knicks. I got something to pose to you guys. I want your opinion. There's a couple of things out there. People are making predictions for the second half, and there's been 5 predictions for the second half as far as the Knicks are concerned. I want your opinion. First one, they definitely will make another trade. Yes, no, just your opinion.
I mean, I hope it's a good one. If it's just a trade for trade purposes, like if it was up to Thibodeau, I think they'd have more veterans and they'd be getting rid of some of these younger guys. I mean, I think he wants a more seasoned team. I mean, there's been reports of that. He wanted to get rid of RJ Barrett. He wanted to get rid of a couple other. There was nobody that wasn't off the table for him. Sure. I think if the Knicks needs to hang on and get an actual legitimate top 25 player in the NBA to fit into what they're building here, without giving away. Maybe they're top 2 or 3 players.
Right.
But if the right player comes along and they want RJ Barrett or Obi Toppin or, fill in the blank, I think you have to keep Randall, and I think you have to keep the nucleus of the rest of the guys. But if somebody wants Kevin Knox and a copy machine for a serviceable 2, then it's all yours.
Of course. Here you go. On a platter. There you go.
Yeah. I think it has to be somebody who fits into this system and who's willing to play some defense.
Sure.
But we all know what the Knicks need. They need a shooter. They need a 3 and D.
Yeah,
that's what everybody's looking for.
great.
I don't really think they need any more big men. I don't really think they need another post player. I think they need a true 2 or a 1 who can score, who can play defense and shoot.
Right.
And if they get that, I think they'll solidify their defense. We've talked about the names before that I think are, obviously if a Bradley Beal is even an option, then pretty much you hope you can keep Randall, but anybody else, take them.
Right.
If it's Victor Oladipo, who is more of a kind of question mark, but I think the only reason why I like Oladipo is because I think he fits in a Thibodeau system. Then I think that works. Who else? There's been talks of what's his name from Chicago. I like him.
Levine.
I think he's at the peak of his value right now. I think he's having an incredible year. But like we talked about last week, everybody's numbers are up this year. Mm-hmm. Everybody's numbers are up this year. The scoring is up. There was something on ESPN the other day that these scoring averages have not been this high since the 70s.
Oh, it's crazy.
So, hopefully it's not another old guy on his last leg who's not going to contribute and they're going to give up. I think the Knicks, I can't believe I'm saying this, I think they've done a good job of being patient this year.
Right.
I just hope they don't, blow it on, give away top 3 players for LaMarcus Aldridge or something,
Well, we'll see what happens. I personally think they're going to make a trade at some point, but it might be an Oladipo. But quick aside, you see what Zach LaVine they were interviewing him before the All-Star game, and if I recall, he was asked, "What's it going to take to win this game?" And his reply was, "Score more points than the other team."
Mm-hmm. That'll fit right into New York. Yeah. He's an interesting player. I don't know what to think of. Like if you were to take him, Bradley Beal, and Victor Oladipo, kind of know what you're getting with Oladipo and Beal. With LaVine, can he really? Does he fit? Can you picture him on the Knicks? Does he fit in with this system? He's a pretty dynamic player. He's tall. He's big. His shooting has improved incredibly, and he's explosive to the basket. So I wouldn't be disappointed by any means. Right. But I don't know. I think it's more than a one-man thing with the Knicks, but they need a 3-point shooter, who's not going to be a defensive liability.
Right. Let's move on to the second one. The second point. Prediction, if you will, is Knox returns to a into the regular rotation. Yes, silence.
Kevin Knox is a disappointment,
right?
And obviously he's not playing for a reason. Why, if they're going to add players and compete, now to try to keep the 4th or 5th seed,
right.
6th, 7th, 8th seed in the playoffs. Based on if the roster doesn't change, the only way Knox gets more minutes is if the Knicks deplete themselves of a swing man who. Right. No, I don't think so. I think he's the worst draft pick they've made since. I don't know.
A while, yeah. I agree with that. I don't think he's going to return to a regular rotation.
If any other team is listening, he would be great. Addition to your team.
Awesome player.
He would fit in a number of places.
He'd fit in. He'd fit in great in Houston or Washington or
the
Chicago.
only reason I could see him maybe getting some more time, and we'll see how the next season goes. I think we're in general agreement that they're probably not going to have quite as good a second half as they had a first half. But if they're hoping that maybe they're going to get something out of him, maybe up his stock so he's going to get some additional minutes. And they're still looking to get rid of him, but they're going to say, well, maybe we've got to showcase him. Maybe we can, draw some interest.
Put him in a situation where he's going to succeed. And
exactly.
To some point. And
so that somebody might, end up going, I think he's got something we could do with. That would be the only reason I could see him getting any
send him down to the
more
G
minutes
League and
or
let him
regular
play
minutes.
down there and do it from there. But
as far as making any deals, I don't know. I think just look at the free agent market, and in other words, I don't think it's worth taking apart this team unless you're just going to dump all your.
I don't think there's much to take apart. I don't think there's much to take apart. The thing with the trade, though, is for any of these guys is all right. You get them, and then you have to re-sign them.
Right.
So unless you get somebody with a long-term contract. I think Beal still has multiple years left on his contract, doesn't he?
Beal's the only one that has more than this year.
Yeah, and Levine has more than 1 year.
But if you're going to give away anyone that's going to help a guy like Bradley Beal, I don't know. Well, then what? Then you sell out the house and you've got a great player, but no one to support him. As opposed to looking at somebody you could sign as a free agent.
I don't think they need to get rid of the house. The one thing that gives me hope with the Knicks that they're making good decisions is I think the fact that they didn't jump on a Russell Westbrook, in the beginning of the season tells me that, okay, they understand what they have and they're looking for this equation of getting, how do we get the most value we possibly can to field the team? And if you look at some teams right now that look at the Lakers, if you look at, somebody, the Celtics, if you look at, they're a little thin. They don't have the bench that these other teams have.
Right.
And I think that's what the Knicks realize that three of the five Knicks starters would be a great second team. I mean, they'd be dynamic coming off the bench. So I other than Julius Randle, who's having, his best season as a pro, and there's a lot of people that are having their best season as a pro numbers wise. RJ Barrett's kind of a question mark. I like Mitchell Robinson. I like Elfrid Payton, but if the Knicks can get a bona fide superstar, I don't care if any of them go.
Right. Gotcha. Well, we'll see. Point 3, prediction 3 was Julius Randle will have a 50-point game. Yes. No.
No,
we don't have to discuss this at length. We could just say
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
I think he might come close. I don't think he's going to hit 50. I don't think he'll hit 50. He might have a upper 40s, mid 40s, but I don't think he'll hit 50. But anyway, that's that one. I
don't know. What's his career? 36 points is his career high, maybe something like that.
Something like that. We'll have to get our stats guy on it. And,
I don't think he'll hit 50.
I don't either.
Wait, we have a stats guy?
Not this year. Not this year.
He'll hit 50 between the next two games, maybe. But yeah, we'll see. I got to check it out. Point 4 was Derrick Rose.
He had 45 in 19 against the Trailblazers.
This year?
2019. Almost
19.
2 years.
In 19, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Almost to the day. He had 45.
So he's due.
He's due for a big game. Point 4 was Derrick Rose will become the full-time starting point guard.
No.
Nope.
No, I don't think so either.
No, he's a crusty old man who can't play the minutes.
Yeah, I think he's much more valuable to them healthy, and in order for that to remain,
and the reason why his numbers look so good is he's playing against second units,
right? Yeah. But you're not gonna, you don't want to put him out there for that much time. No. I don't know what is the point guard going to play 36 minutes a night or whatever,
and he's not as good as Peyton.
And, he won't hold up. So he's more valuable giving you whatever he's giving you and being healthy than he is sitting on the bench with another knee operation waiting or whatever.
Exactly. And the 5th prediction is they will make the playoffs. They will make the playoffs.
I unless they collapse completely. Pete was saying earlier they'll have worse. I think they could still be 500. But will a 500 team, which they basically are right now, make it to the playoffs in the East?
You might.
They have a bunch of games left. And I think if they do, they're going to squeak in the 8th spot. But if I had to bet on it, I'd say yes, only because I think there's so much inconsistency in the East right now. But I think if they get in, they squeak in. Only because I think Miami, you don't know really what they're going to do. Indiana, there's a lot of teams that are just kind of playing under their weight right now.
Gotcha.
I don't think they are. I think they'll be close to 500, but I think I mean, are they going to? I think there are other teams. I agree that are definitely. I definitely agree they're playing kind of below where they should be, and I think there's opportunity for them to improve. I don't see the Knicks playing a whole lot better than they kind of have already. I think they're about a 500 team, depending on what moves they make, if any.
Sure. Well, these are the five.
That record might be enough, but I just think there's going to be other teams.
Well, these are the teams that are hovering around 500. Okay, so you have the Celtics and the Knicks, which are 2 and 1 game above 500, respectively. You have the Heat, who are at 500.
Yep.
You have the Hornets, are 1 game under, and Toronto, who's 2 games under.
2 games.
Then you got the Bulls, the Pacers, the Hawks, and the Wizards. So, and the Wizards are 6 games under 500.
The Wizards have a long ways to go.
They have a long way to go, but I think of those teams, I think the Wizards are better than the Hawks, and I think they're better than the Pacers.
Yep.
So for the Knicks to drop out of the playoffs, you're really looking at Toronto to have a better second half, Charlotte to have a better second half, and one of those other teams, either Chicago, Indiana, Atlanta, or Washington. So that's what makes me hopeful that even if Toronto plays better than the Knicks, even if Charlotte, which I think the Knicks are better than Charlotte.
Right.
If the Heat continue to get better, okay, the Knicks drop down to maybe 7th or 8th. It's going to take the Bulls or the Pacers or the Wizards to really have a heater to win. I think Washington dug themselves a hole. I think the one team that I could see having a better second half than the Knicks out of those 4 is Chicago.
The standings last year for the playoffs, 2 teams, the 7th and 8th place team, were sub 500.
Yeah,
in the East last year, and one in the 8th place team in the West.
And they are right now. Yeah. And in the West, they're above.
They're above, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Yeah, the Nets were in 7th at 35 and 37 record. Magic were in 8th with a 33 and 40 record. And in the West, the Trailblazers were in 8th with a 35 and 39 record last year.
I mean, the New York media would love to see a Brooklyn Knicks first round playoff matchup.
That would be interesting.
The Subway Series, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the Nets have I think at least three or four other 40-year-olds are going to pick up along the way.
Yeah, what's the playoff format?
Normal.
They're not all 7 games, are they?
5, 7, 7.
All right,
yeah,
I think.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
So that would be an exciting 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Nets and the Knicks.
It would be an exciting 3 games. I see where you went there.
Listen, if the Nets hold true to form,
unless Grant Cinderella ankle doesn't hold up and Kyrie has a meltdown,
right?
Or
takes another week and a half off, and
if the Nets do play true to form, they're perfectly capable of playing, kind of down to the competition,
and all of a sudden it
goes
to Game 5. I'm just saying it goes to Game 5, and they're like, they're in the second half of Game 5, and they're like, what are we doing? Oh my God!
Yeah, that would be
that won't happen.
Probably
don't even say that because that could happen.
No, right.
Look, the Sixers are playing good ball. I don't think it's a given that the Nets are going to automatically win that top seed. I mean, they should. It could be Milwaukee. Milwaukee could be sitting at the top of that. So I think the East is interesting.
That's true.
Well, we're going to see. I guess we're going to see a Celtics team with Marcus Smart back against Brooklyn tomorrow night, I believe. So, and I think the Celtics are going to have a better second half. And so
there's no team that's underperformed as much as the Celtics have.
Right.
They're just people talk about the Nuggets, but I mean the Nuggets are 6 games over 500. They've won 21 games and they're 6 games back of the Jazz. So
it's
right. I think if you're going to give out, mid-season Coach of the Year awards, you got to look at Utah, Philly, and Phoenix right now. I mean, Phoenix has won 24 games.
Yeah.
They're 8-2 in their last 10.
There was a report out today. It said first half winners. Among the first half winners, LeBron, Jokic, and the Knicks headline the first half winners.
I mean, look, the Knicks are definitely a surprise story.
Well, it's surprise, right? Because nobody expected much. But and then among the headlining the losers, the biggest losers of the first half would be the Celtics and the Rockets.
Yeah, but the Rockets, because they lost their best player.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and I'll tell you, Phoenix is only Utah's better in conference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I mean, Utah's 12-5 and Phoenix is 15-7.
Bless you.
And Phoenix is 12-6 at home and 12-5 on the road. So
Right.
I said it last year. People laughed at me. I said,
yeah.
Look, watch out for the Suns. They've got they're a good team. They're not bad defensively. They're one of the best teams defensively in the West. They're actually the best team in the West defensively. Well, and the Lakers.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, and that just said too. Also, in the same article, it says also the Jazz and the Suns love where they're at, while the Hawks and the Wolves are the biggest flops.
Yeah, I don't know about Atlanta. Did anybody really? I mean, did anybody expect anything from Minnesota? I didn't.
No.
I didn't expect anything from Atlanta either. I mean,
I don't know. I think Atlanta had more upside, or was considered to have more upside. They just fired their coach.
Right. So
I guess they're a talented team that just haven't come together. So
right. So
they might have a better second half.
They have a lot of guys who it doesn't seem like it gels very well. I mean, you got Bogdanovich, you got Capella, and
that's what I mean.
And DeAndre Hunter, and
you look at that team and you go, they really should be a little bit better than they are. So they could be a team that's going to move up and take a playoff spot.
Or are they going to be a team where you're going to start to see guys like Rondo and Clint Capella and Bogdanovich get traded?
I think that might be a possibility too.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. All right. Let's talk about the Nets for a minute, because I know Pete would want to. What do you think of Blake Griffin? Not as a person, just coming to the Nets. So.
He was great on Broad City. Yeah, I heard something today. Blake Griffin hasn't dunked the basketball in a game in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
I heard that last week too.
I mean,
the Nets needed defense, so they went out and signed Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Well, so what I heard from people is his defense has definitely improved. Okay. And he has changed his game accordingly. Now, is he obviously...
He gives you a veteran player for the playoffs where he can come in and fill that center role when they go small. I think he's going to be a 15 to 18 minute a game guy, and he's going to give you, 6 and 5.
Right. He's not as good as he was, only in a different way, obviously.
No.
But
he's shooting the ball more. And he can be one of these guys who, hey, I left him open, and he can hit a 3.
Well, that's what they're hoping. That's what they're hoping for. He's out there on the court, they're covering everybody else, so he's open. So he's
well. And as I said last week, I think he was pretty disinterested the last couple seasons in Detroit, and coming to a situation where now he's got a shot at a title can bring a little rejuvenation.
There you go.
He's not going to crack the starting lineup or anything, but they didn't get him for that. So
right. He said that he picked the Nets over the Warriors, the Heat, and the Trailblazers. And apparently the Lakers and the Celtics were also inquiring about him.
Yeah, I heard there were 6 teams that were very interested in him.
Well, that would be the Warriors, the Heat, the Blazers, the Lakers, the Celtics, and the Nets.
Yeah.
And the Nets won. So, but
I can't believe he picked the Nets. That's
why would they do something like
going
that?
out on a limb there.
Odd. Why? I mean, just you don't know what goes through these kids' minds. I just
yeah. Well, he wasn't really the upside player. I think that a team like Miami really needs to kind of.
I mean, he's averaging 12 and 5 as a starter in Detroit. I mean, his best year was 3 years ago when he with the Pistons. Where he averaged almost 25 points a game. So I feel indifferent. I think he makes him a little better.
Right.
They didn't give up anybody really for him, so
it gives them depth, and that's what they needed.
They needed depth. That's what they needed.
Depth and a little more defensive presence. Which is odd to say Blake Griffin, but again, he's not the same Blake Griffin.
He's not. He's not.
Who was the guy who played for the Trailblazers for years and then always led the league in technical fouls? And then all of a sudden he becomes this guy who can't jump anymore, and then becomes like this incredibly valuable role player. That's who I think Blake Griffin could be, but do it in a lot more quiet way. Who am I thinking of?
I know. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
I can't think of it.
Doesn't
I know you're talking about, but I can't.
Yeah, he could shoot a three. He went for being this kind of dynamic rim player to being able to play defense and occasionally hit a big three.
So you looking? You checking?
Yeah.
Go for it. While you guys both do that, I'm just going to.
He played for the Knicks, I think.
Did he?
I think he was on that Knicks team
that lost.
Well, the last Knicks team that made it to the playoffs
In 2012?
Yeah.
Melo? Yeah. Jeremy Lin?
Yeah, well, Jeremy Lin wasn't really part of it. That was the next year with Linsanity, but yeah. What the hell is his name? This is going to bug the shit out of me.
Yeah, I know. I could see him, too. He wore a headband. And
he was from Brooklyn. Yeah, he was from Brooklyn, I think.
Rasheed Wallace.
Rasheed Wallace. There you go.
Rasheed Wallace, yeah. Always complaining to the refs and getting technicals.
Yeah. But I mean, that too. I mean, personalities night and day. But that's who I could see Blake Griffin kind of being, you know?
Yeah. Reinventing himself and
just being a good role player and a guy who, you know, can help you. That's for sure.
Gotcha. One last thing before we move on to our top 10 list. This popped up one of my feeds.
2012 he was on the Knicks.
2012, yeah. This popped up in one of my feeds today. There was a couple of people that said that right now they're saying that in their minds right now Julius Randle is better. Right now, Julius Randle is better than Zion.
Who said that?
Zion's a little bit of a one-dimensional player, but that one dimension is frightening.
Yeah, very frightening.
I think they're probably right. I mean, in a team format, I think Randall's game is much more developed. Yeah, right. He's a better shooter than Zion.
Right.
Zion's a guy who reminds me of a lot of different players, but he kind of reminds me of Sean Kemp, or a little bit like Barkley, especially early in Barkley's career, or fill in the blank. Who are all these other guys who are just these huge guys who are dominant in the paint? Right. It seems like when he wants to, he can score whenever he wants. The thing is that when it comes to playoff basketball, I don't think, and you might not see him in the playoffs, but I don't think his game translates right now into playoff basketball. But if you're picking somebody to build a team around, then I think you'd be dumb to pick Randall over Zion. The other question mark with Zion is how durable is he?
That's the real question for me.
Hopefully he's more durable than his sneakers back in.
Every time I see him, I still think he needs to change his body type. He's just too damn big.
He is.
For him to go, and he's so young. How old is Zion? 20, 21?
He was. He's probably 21. Yeah.
I think he's 20. So his numbers are great, but he's not really leading his team to a lot of wins. He's 20. Yeah.
He's 20 years old,
and he'll be
21 in. He'll be 21 in July.
He's going to have to change his game as he gets older. Right. Because even the staunchest body is going to give out when you're that big and that much.
He has to learn to be able to catch and shoot. Right. He's not really he can shoot and he can create his own shot, and we know what he can do around the rim, but he's not really a catch and shoot guy right now. But he's 20.
Yeah.
And he is a freak of nature. I mean, he is amazing.
He is.
He is just incredible. They have him listed at 280.
284 on this one.
I think he's bigger than that.
I thought he was tall. It says this.
He's only 6'7".
6'7". Yeah, he's
no. That's he looks like he's 6'7". Yeah.
I guess.
Anyway,
but, anyway,
this whole New York media love of Julius Randle. I mean, Julius Randle's a good player.
They're having a love affair with him right now.
You're not going to win. He's a good second player. If you can get
you got your
Beal,
star, and then you got
Julius
Beal,
Randle would be fantastic. As long as he can learn that he's going to have 7 less touches a game, and he's going to have to rebound.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to win a championship? Play basketball.
There you go. All right. So maybe we should move on to our top 10. Top 10 of today.
Is it just 10?
It's just 10. It's just 10. I swear.
That's incredible. It's so rare that we have an actual top 10 list.
Are we ever going to do the top 10 tens of all time?
Top 10 tens.
I think we need another couple of years in the books to do our best.
To do our best top 10 list. Exactly.
I'm just talking top 10 tens.
I understand what you meant. Today's top 10, this week's top 10 list is top 10 basketball movies of all time. With the All-Star break, we figured we'd change it up and do some movies.
That's right.
We'll, in true Locker Room Sports Podcast fashion, we have 15 top 10s for you today. The way we vote, the way the numbers work, it just popped up that way. So we're going to change the format up a little bit. I'm going to read everything, and then we'll all talk. I'll read them off one by one. Top 10 basketball movies of all time. Here we go. 10B. We'll start with 10B. 10B. It's not 10Q, so we're not like that. So
yeah, it's 10B. Not like we have 9 and then 6 number 10s.
6 number 10s, right?
We got 2 number 10s and 2 number 9s.
We got 2 number 10s, 3 number 9s.
3 number 9s, all right.
And then there's 2 number 7s and 2 number 5s. Everything else is a single.
We're gonna have to start flipping some coins.
I think we'll have to do that at some point.
Or just go to 20.
Or just go to 20. Yeah, exactly. But then we'll wind up having 30 top 20s.
Yeah, that's true. And a 4.5-hour show.
Exactly. So today we'll start with 10B. 10B is Teen Wolf. That's right, Teen Wolf. I'll throw the picture up there. There's the actor in the wolf costume pretending to be Michael J. Fox. But Teen Wolf came out in 1985, and it starred Michael J. Fox. And there you go. With the new format, either of you have anything to say about Teen Wolf?
No.
I almost didn't put this movie on the list, but it's just a good movie. It's one of those things when it's on and you're clicking and you come across it, there's always a scene or two that you want to see.
It is.
It's a fun movie. It's dumb, and it's Michael J. Fox in his shaky voice, teenage best.
Right.
It's just a good movie. Is it great?
No,
I don't know, but it's fun to watch.
It's a fun movie. It's a cute movie. There you go. So number 10B, Teen Wolf. We'll move on to number 10A is Love and Basketball. There it is right there. Came out in 2000 and stars Omar Epps.
And the better part of that duo.
And the better part, yeah.
Anna Chatham, yeah.
Yeah, Chatham, yeah.
I never saw this. It's got a lot of press, though. It was pretty high up on a lot of lists.
It's actually. I have to admit, it was a good movie. It was a good film. It's a little predictable, but it's good. It's because there's 2 good actors in it.
Right. Yeah.
Title's kind of new.
Omar Epps has been in a number of sports-related movies. So this was.
She's great. She is.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Number 10A, Love and Basketball. We'll move on to number 9C. 9C, folks. 1-on-1. There he is right there. It came out in 1979, starred Robbie Benson. There he is right there.
And whoever thought, hey, we're going to make Robbie Benson a basketball player.
Exactly. So
who had this on their list? Did I think
that's what makes this a good movie is they kind of pulled it off because he's eminently hateable, right? I mean, there's nothing about Robbie Benson that anyone should like.
No.
But
he was almost Teen Wolf.
He was.
Yeah.
He was almost Teen Wolf. Literally, he was almost Teen Wolf.
Yeah. To me, this was an engaging movie.
It was an interesting movie. Had interesting moments in it too. That
interesting moments, and was very satisfying when. You knew it was going to work out okay
Right.
in the end, but there's a lot of movies where I really don't want it to work out okay, where I think the movie would be better if everything didn't happen perfectly.
Right.
But in this one, it was very satisfying when, of course, he ultimately triumphs, and
Sure.
And it's got one of the the red hot poker line
exactly.
is one of the great lines in movie history.
Exactly.
All the way up. I can play anywhere I want.
All the way up. Exactly. Number 9C, 1-on-1. That brings us to number 9B, is The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh.
Now we're talking.
The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Came out in 1979 as well, and all-star cast led by a lot of basketball greats. Dr. J is in this movie. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Meadowlark Lemon is in this movie. And we just mentioned, I don't know why we mentioned it last week, but Flip Wilson is in this movie too.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get
Meadowlark Lemon and Flip Wilson in the same movie.
Flip Wilson or Mr. Furley's in a movie, and you got
and Rizzo, Stockard Channing, Rizzo from Grease,
who's great.
Any chatter on this one? Silence.
I just remember it being, as a kid, I remember it being, oh wow, there's a movie about basketball, and oh yeah, Dr. J's in it, and Kareem, and I haven't seen it since, I'll be honest, but it was a pretty good movie.
It's a good movie.
I think it attempted to be a slightly nicer version of Slapshot, only in basketball format.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Slightly.
It was an interesting concept, right? Because it wasn't about great players coming together or a guy who was an underachiever who, finally figures it out and, becomes the superstar. It was totally who was the little kid who makes this speech, right? It's that psychic connection.
Right.
And they weren't even an NBA team.
Weren't
they like a minor league team or something like that?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but they're all Pisces.
That's right.
Yeah. Pisces is the fish. And that's what made them great. And that was such an odd concept. And not really something, you just kind of had to suspend your disbelief and go, okay, so astrology, and that opening scene, that first tip-off in their first game together, where, the guy hits the ball with his hands and they get this basket almost by accident, by, astrological
luck.
Help, right, luck.
Help.
And
right.
And the whole thing kind of comes together in that moment. For me, it was just a great moment. And
great cast. Debbie Allen, Harry Shearer, Marv Albert and Chick Hearn as themselves. I think Jerry Tarkanian was in it. Kareem, Norm Nixon, Spencer Haywood, Lonnie Shelton. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and I mean it came out
79.
79. So that was kind of the age
I would watch
if disco, and
if this was on television, I would watch this over Teen Wolf or anything with Robbie Benson.
You know what? I would too.
Yeah, well, because I don't think any of us have seen it for a long time.
Right.
I'd watch this over the garbage picking, field goal kicking.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Depends on the time of year.
I'd watch it back.
Yeah,
it's a good back to back. It's a good Sunday morning, back to back.
There you go. It's a two for Sunday matinee, double matinee.
That's a good way to make sure the children never hang out with me again. Boys, we're going to watch a couple of movies.
That's right.
Sit down.
Do this with me, and you're off the hook for the rest of your lives.
Exactly.
You don't have to hang out with me. Don't have to come visit me in the home you're going to stick me in later. Just watch these two films.
That's it. So, number 9B, The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. That brings us to number 9A is Coach Carter. Coach Carter. There it is right there. It came out in 2005 and starred Samuel L. Jackson and Channing Tatum.
And look how big everyone's shorts are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can tell that's a 2000s movie, not a 1970s movie.
Yeah, shorts have literally tripled in length.
Absolutely.
I mean, those are skirts.
They're skirts. They're pants from the 60s.
That would be long in Amish country.
I believe those are styled after the women's fashion item known as the skort.
The skort. Yeah, there it is again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a skirt disguised or shorts disguised.
Shorts
disguised as a skirt.
Skirt, right? Exactly. That's funny. Anyway, all right. Number 9A, Coach Carter. That brings us to number 8. There's no A or B for 8, so 8 is on its own, and that would be The Way Back. That just came out. It's the newest movie of anyone on this list. Just came out last year.
Affleck
with Ben Affleck, starring Ben Affleck. Yeah.
I haven't seen this one either, but
Ben Affleck, the new Robbie Benson.
Ben Affleck is the new Robbie Benson.
Nothing says Coach looking for redemption like Ben Affleck.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, just look. Yeah. Just you could tell. right there. There.
But now, is this a movie? Is this one of his movies, or is this a movie that he was just in? Do we know?
I don't think he just started it.
Yeah, he just started it.
Because he's made some. I don't know if you've seen Reindeer Games. Was a very interesting movie. The one where he was a mobster in Boston.
Geely.
No, Geely was a piece of shit, but he's made some. The Accountant. Where he's like a hitman who's also a genius.
That one was I think awarded a bunch of was up.
Yeah, that was a pretty good movie. He's done some nice work,
The Town, I actually.
I
actually like The Town. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with Ben's.
Listen, it's taken him some time to get over the Goodwill Hunting stories and the reputation that went along with that.
I'm not really going to feel sorry for him, though. I mean,
no, I'm not saying you should.
But run along the way.
Exactly. Well,
if
nothing else, how do you like them apples came out of that movie? So I mean, always got.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Number 8, The Way Back. Moving on to number 7B, Finding Forrester. Finding Forrester. It was from the year 2000 and starred Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Probably
this was like Goodwill Hunting with basketball.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, as a matter of fact. Good movie.
Good movie. Sean Connery has a wicked hook shot in this one.
He really does. His layup is amazing as well.
The Scottish skyhook.
I've never seen the pick and roll done as well as he was in the Scottish skyhook. Is that what you just said?
He just wandered around the basketball court going, "Where's Catherine Zeta-Jones?"
I gotta love it. 7B, Finding Forrester. All right, 7A, Above the Rim.
Absolutely.
Above the Rim. Folks, there it is right there.
Above the Rim was definitely above average.
It was. Came out in 1994 and starred Tupac Shakur, Bernie Mac, and Marlon Wayans. Film in, about a local... it's an interesting movie. Let's put it that way. I think it was filmed in New York. But
look at that guy in the back. He's about to get dunked on.
Definitely.
I wandered on set by accident.
Yeah, he was the UPS driver, and he just was walking through.
He's got the package in his hand. He's like, wait a minute, is this supposed to go?
This had a lot of great action, right? This
is the most basketball movie.
Yeah, there's probably how many dunks would you say are?
You can't count them. There's literally so many freaking dunks in this movie. It's insane. If you tried to count them, you'll lose count.
There we go. It's number 7A, has the most dunks.
There you go.
And it's a pretty good film.
It is. There you go. Number 7A, Above the Rim. That brings us to number 6. Number 6 is Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault. And there's the picture right there. Best one I could find, actually. So
Don Cheadle.
Deal with it. Don Cheadle, James Earl Jones,
and
Michael
Eric
Beach,
LaSalle, and Forrest Whitaker.
Eric LaSalle, Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Who else? Kareem was in this movie too, and James Earl Jones and Ronnie Cox too. Was in this as well.
We all
came out in '96. So.
We all kind of know the story of Earl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but LaSalle directed this.
Eric LaSalle directed it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was in his hot period.
Yeah. He was
right after ER.
Right after ER and way after he let his soul glow in Coming to America. And
it's nothing like picking a 5'6" guy to play the star of the basketball film.
Yeah,
so, exactly.
But, Don Cheadle, Denver boy. But I kind of like this film, although it was horribly promoted. I just feel like no one knew about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think maybe they thought there was going to be more inside basketball talk about it or something. But I
Well,
mean,
it was an HBO film, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even in the movie theater.
It wasn't in the theaters. Yeah, it was a.
and I mean, you could, I guess, ultimately, it's kind of a feel good story, but it's also kind of not a feel good story because you're sort of looking at a guy who maybe could have. Well, Kareem says he's the greatest player he's ever seen.
Sure.
And he's not the only guy who ever said that.
Right.
But he, didn't follow through and had problems with drugs and, eventually sort of redeemed himself and did a lot of work in the community, which doesn't really get as much press in the film as it should. But ultimately, not as much of a feel-good movie as some of the, it certainly wasn't a Hollywood style.
Right. Yeah.
So, more, I mean, it was kind of an ode, kind of a tribute.
Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't a glowing, everything's great. And,
kind of
there's the shot with the sun, behind him, everything's looking perfect. It was kind of a raw look at what happens if you take drugs, ruin your potential career in the NBA.
Exactly. So, there you go. Number 6, Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault. So let's move on to number 5B. Number 5B is Basketball Diaries. There's right there. Basketball Diaries came out in 1995 and starred Leonardo DiCaprio, Marky Mark Wahlberg.
Look at Leonardo DiCaprio, man.
Yeah.
And Lorraine Bracco was in this too.
Yeah.
But
well, a great book by a great writer and a guy who I've always liked, and Jim Carroll, who most people, he's a musician and a writer, and a dark film, but at the time, really kind of an interesting take on what was going on in New York in the 70s,
Sure.
And a great book, and I thought it was done fairly well as a movie. Yeah, I think it holds up well as a film.
And I think they worked pretty hard to try and kind of actually portray what the book was about. Carroll, my first exposure to him was through the music.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, Catholic Boy, the album is downloaded on this phone and has been for years. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. But, he was kind of known as a poet and, of course, as a
he's kind of a spoken word musician.
And, of course, as a heroin addict as well. And
right.
But I think this film kind of showed that he was more than that. This is a guy who had a love of basketball.
He's a great writer. Yeah.
He wasn't just some kid who started shooting up at age 13 and never did anything with his life. Good film. Good performance by Leo.
It was good. So there you go. Number 5B, Basketball Diaries. All right, we'll move on to 5A. 5A is none other than Semi-Pro. Wearing the jersey from it today.
I mean, it's just so good.
It's just, right there.
Yeah. I mean, look at it. It's just, if you this is one of those things where if you just look at Will Ferrell, you laugh. And like, if you were to pick one person to portray an ABA, or whatever this is supposed to be, a player.
It's supposed to be the ABA.
Yeah. Then you immediately think of Will Ferrell.
Of course. You just,
Yeah, I mean, it's great,
and he, and he owned the team too,
and just
the recording star with the song "Love Me Sexy."
The name of the team alone, it's Flint, Michigan, and the name of the team is the Tropics. I mean, it's just, and I mean, it maybe even holds more weight now because for horrible reasons, Flint has been in the the news so much, but it's it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's a really funny movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah, it came out in 2008. Stars Will Ferrell, Woody Harrelson, and Maura Tierney too.
Wow, is it really that old? Wow.
Yeah, it's 13 years old this year.
Yeah. Listen, there's a place for movies like these, right? And just silly, have fun, ridiculous, the outrageous characters, right? And if they're done well, they're hilarious and brilliant, and they make you want to watch them again and again. And this is definitely done well.
It is. And this is just so you're aware, you can't see the number. This is a Jackie Moon jersey. So.
Well, of course. Be sacrilege if you had.
Absolutely.
anyone else's.
Like Andre 3000 was in this.
Andre 3000 was in this.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
he
right.
was. Yeah.
Will Arnett was. And of course, David Ketcher, who's in everyone. I mean, yeah, he's just perfect. Yeah, this is. I got to watch this.
Yeah, I gotta. After doing this list, I got to put this on later. I got to watch this again.
Yeah.
So, but there you go. Number 5A, semi-pro, and right into another one. Number 4, White Men Can't Jump. And here's the screenshot of that. This one came out in '92 and also stars Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes and Rosie Perez in this one as well. This was. You know what? You start to think that Woody Harrelson kind of knows how to play basketball. At least fake it enough.
I don't know. Did this movie, of all these movies, did this have the worst or least realistic basketball action of any of them?
I feel like it was Jungle Fever on a basketball court.
It was very similar. You know.
To me, it was very choreographed, and what some Hollywood guy thought basketball should look like on this, right. The mean streets. I don't know. Just never really bought that these guys were really playing it. They were acting like they were great players and doing a good job.
Sure.
But I don't know. It never looked real to me. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a great film, because it is.
I think they should remake it and let Woody Allen direct it.
There you go. Right. That would be interesting. An interesting take on that one. There you go. Number 4, White Men Can't Jump. That brings us to number 3. Number 3 is Hoop Dreams. Hoop Dreams, folks. There it is. Right there. It's the cover for it. Hoop Dreams documentary film came out in 1994.
Yeah, I remember watching this when it came out. It was a really good documentary.
Absolutely. Arthur Agee and William Gates. Great. It was a great documentary. It really was. And it apparently didn't start out as a documentary on Arthur Agee and William Gates. Apparently
started out as a PBS.
It was PBS, and they wanted to document the basketball scene in West Chicago.
Right.
And then they hooked up with Arthur Agee to bring him around and everything else. He was a kid or young, and William Gates, and it became a story about them and what they went through, and they used their story, and it just took it from there. But it didn't. It morphed into that from what it originally was supposed to be. But still, very, very good film.
Yeah, and it holds up. I mean, for as localized as it was, and of course now it's 2014, 27 years old.
27 years old, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, how about that?
Look at
guys. That. Math. It still holds up. It's still an incredibly engaging story, to me anyway. I think I saw it maybe about a year and a half or 2 years ago. It doesn't. I mean, it's interesting to look at the times and the fashion and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
But it doesn't seem dated. Like this, the story that it tells could be the same story that's happening today, right? Somewhere else. And, that kind of, one kid makes it and one sort of doesn't, or, they go different paths.
It's I remember it being a fairly long film. Isn't it almost 3 hours long or something?
It's pretty long. Yeah. It's pretty long.
Good film, though.
Yeah, very good.
Well done. Number 3, Hoop Dreams. That brings us to number 2. Number 2 is He Got Game. There's the shot right there of Denzel. Came out in 1998. Spike Lee film starring Denzel Washington. Denzel was a little older then. But
yeah.
Hey, pulled it off. It was a good movie.
And Ray Allen.
Ray Allen.
Yep, Ray Allen was in the movie too. Yeah, pretty damn good movie.
I thought it was. I think it was. I think. Yeah, I mean, I had it pretty high up on my list. I thought it was great. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Spike Lee guy though. So.
Yeah.
It was one of his better joints, and Allen did a great job. And I think that's kind of when, obviously, Allen, made his mark as a player. But we started to find out things about him and continue to find out things about him. Like he negotiated his own contracts, and he never used an agent, and
sure,
had some acting chops as well. So we kind of went, oh, there's more to this guy than just a basketball player.
And there were a lot of cameos by NBA players, if I remember correctly, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the bigger names. I mean, Spike was definitely calling in some favors.
This is definitely true. And there you go. Number 2, He Got Game. And that brings us to our number 1 basketball movie of all time.
Space Jam. Oh, no. Sorry.
Space Jam. Yes, Space Jam. No, that would be Hoosiers.
Is that
folks.
1B?
1B is Space Jam. Space Jam is 1B. Yes.
Space Jam is 17C.
Wow. I wouldn't have gone as high as 17.
Okay,
yeah, 28D.
28D, exactly. 28 double D.
Space Jam.
Hoosiers, folks, not Space Jam. Hoosiers.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Is Space
Hoosiers.
Jam better than Cornbread Earl and Me?
It's a toss-up. But as far as Hoosiers go, Hoosiers came out in 1986, starring Gene Hackman. The uniforms were those jackets right there, those pullovers. They were nice and shiny.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, this is it's the preeminent basketball movie, right? It's got to be. I think we were all in unanimous decision on this. It was the number 1 across the board with the 3 of us. But yeah, it's you can't say enough about it. But just a good, solid basketball movie. If you've never watched it, go out and watch it.
Yeah,
or stay in and watch it.
It's got everything. It's got great basketball action. It's got the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the redemption story, right?
Sure, absolutely.
It's got the kind of that undertone of when what's her name, Margaret Fleener is talking about. I don't want these kids to, 17, 18 years old to be what they talk about as the best part of their lives, for the rest of their lives. Right. So you have a lot of these themes kind of flowing through the movie. And, based on a true story.
Sure.
So, you can sort of, they took some license with it as well, but, it wasn't, quote unquote, made up. So
No, not at all.
This is a great flick.
It is. So there you go. Number 1 basketball movie of all time, on our list anyway, Hoosiers. There you go. And that is our top 10 list. And went pretty smoothly tonight, I'd say.
I like it.
I think this is
top 15.
I think this is on a top 10 formats.
I think it's
top 10 lists that we have used on this program.
I think it's the new format.
Of the 2 formats we've used, I think
this one will work best.
This one's. I think they're both in the top 10.
I think they're both in the top 10. Absolutely.
Barely.
I'd even put them in the top 2.
That's right.
Okay. There you go. But in any event.
Well, next week we should just try out we all yell out at the same time.
And just everything.
Like.
Just name them all and then move on.
Just everybody talks at the same time. You take your 3 or 4, I take my 4, you take your 3. And we just boom, 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 run through them. The segment lasts maybe 3.5 minutes. And I
think we could be done in 15 minutes now, and I'd be really excited.
Well, it's under a half an hour now. It's only 20-something minutes right now. So.
Listen, Harry.
And we did 15, by the way. Not 10, 15. So
your dream of having this be, a semi-professional type of thing, it's not going to happen.
We're getting close. We are getting
a little closer, though.
We're getting a little closer. So there you go. Well,
come. Why don't you guys listen to my 4-hour podcast? Come on.
Hey, Joe Rogan does a 4-hour podcast. If Joe Rogan can do a 4-hour podcast, we can do a 4-hour podcast.
That's right.
If we could have the drugs that Joe Rogan has, then I would I would love to do a 4-hour podcast.
Right.
There you go. All right. Well, that'll bring us to this week's segment of Old Balls. Old Balls. Harry, why don't you tell us who this week's Old Balls recipient is?
Not technically a movie, but when we're talking about things that were dramas that were based on basketball, I can only think of one recipient that's deserving of this week's Old Balls, and that is the TV show The White Shadow.
I agree.
This was actually a really critically acclaimed TV show that, when you think about it, dealt with a lot of pretty deep issues, especially for a show that I believe was on network television.
It was on network.
It came out in 78,
77, 78, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and ran through 1981. It was a show about Ken Howard, who plays Ken Reeves, a white professional basketball player who, due to a knee injury, has to retire from the Bulls and becomes the head coach of the fictional Carver High School, which was located in South Central Los Angeles. I remember as a kid this just being a great show. I mean, it was really well acted. It seemed realistic, especially a lot of the basketball. And it starred, Ken Howard played Coach Ken Reeves. You had just a great cast of young kids playing characters such as Warren Coolidge and Morris Thorpe, Mario Salami Petrino, James Hollywood Hayward, Nathan Cook played Milton Reese, Curtis C.J. Jackson, Richard Gogo Gomez, Abner Goldstein. Gotta have everybody represented.
Every ethnicity has to be represented. So.
Yeah, I mean, right. It was just a good show. And I've seen it, mostly on YouTube lately, and it holds up. It's great. It was like Welcome Back Kotter, but more serious and on a basketball
court. Definitely does have Welcome Back Kotter overtones to it.
Yeah. And I thought Ken Howard was kind of pretty good in this, and it wasn't the biggest ratings, but I think it started to gain some wheels when it was in syndication, and I think that's really when I watched it. I don't think I watched it when it was first on, but I remember it being on in syndication, and it took on some interesting topics of the day, and it was one of those first shows that paved the way for so-called realistic dramas like Hill Street Blues and St. Elsewhere and My So-Called Life. And it was good.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
I do remember watching it in the first run. And yeah, it was appointment TV.
Yeah.
And I remember
Bill Simmons talking about it a lot.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't know if you remember the ABC after school specials.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
They made even before that. I remember Kevin Hooks was in one of those, one of the ones that about a kid who befriends this feral cat, TJ's cat or something like that. So
it's vaguely familiar.
Yeah, kind of, but just recognizing him in the white shadow from that. That's the guy from TJ's cat. But yeah, this was kind of appointment TV, and we were joking off the air, so to speak. I guess last week about some of the stereotypes in the program, but whatever. It was a different time, and
it was a different time.
But as you just said, they were inclusive. They had a little bit of everything.
Inclusive of everybody, yeah.
Well, it was good, and it was real, and and I think I forget which character it was, but he actually went on to become a character in St. Elsewhere. One of the guys from The White Shadow played the same character years later as a member of the St. Elsewhere cast.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it didn't always wrap up. Most of the time it did, but it didn't always wrap up with a nice, neat, pretty bow and everything worked out okay at the end of each episode.
Yeah, not every episode ended.
There was some kind of heavy stuff going on there because these were, kids facing real problems that didn't get solved in 48 minutes or whatever,
right?
Whatever the running time of a show minus the commercials was,
right? Yep. Yeah, it was. And the Beastie Boys, I think, had a song about the White Shadow, and I know it was referenced in the Seinfeld episode, "The Summer of George."
Summer of George.
I don't know. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's a great TV show.
Yeah, go watch a couple. Check them out.
Yeah.
You might get hooked. You might want to watch some more. So,
yeah.
But there you go. This week's Old Balls.
Old Balls.
The White Shadow. All right.
White Shadow.
The White Shadow.
Oh yeah, there is a Beastie Boys song. You're right.
There you go. All right. Well, hey.
What a pop culture maven you are.
Well, the Beastie Boys sang about a lot of pop culture at the time. Cookie Puss and The White Shadow. And
well, they sampled a lot of it. That was kind of
right.
You heard stuff that you had heard before. You even didn't know where you heard it from.
Even Anthony Mason got a reference in a Beastie Boys song.
You gotta love it. All right. Well, let's move on to some spring training baseball. What do you think?
Baseball.
A little baseball. We got a little.
It's going on right now.
It's happening now. A couple of A couple of Mets points we'll throw out there. Mets are expected to start contract talks with Francisco Lindor this week. So
yay!
That might be a plus. Ronnie Mauricio, 19-year-old top prospect for the Mets, look great. Has been looking great. I mean, it's spring training. How great can you look? But for a 19-year-old, he's been looking damn great. And that poses something too. I mean, and you got Batty too. Is playing really well, and he's another top prospect for the Mets. Ronnie Mauricio's hitting .455 so far in spring training right now. But
means nothing.
But hey, you know what? That's good infield prospects coming up. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, and then of course you got Jose Martinez with a torn meniscus now.
Yeah. Did you see the play?
I didn't.
Did you see the play? The
trying to get out of the umpire's way.
The umpire did not move.
Yeah, dick.
Martinez was running at him for a good 10 feet, and the ump didn't even move. Didn't even try to step out of the way. Nothing. So.
Do we know the umpire's name?
Dick.
So we can boo him thoroughly when we.
John cannot go a day without getting angry at an umpire or a ref.
I know that's one of the best things about him.
It's amazing how much anger. I don't know where it came from.
Imagine that. It's been a while since I pulled this out, but for the ref, right here. That's what the ref gets right there. There you go. Ref gets
listen, of perhaps greater concern, although not necessarily greater concern because it doesn't seem as serious, but Carrasco taking a few days off after some pain in the elbow.
Yeah, elbow soreness. But
hopefully nothing, but not something you want to see.
This is true, but just remember a couple of years ago, DeGrom had to sit for a couple of weeks with elbow soreness, and then he won the Cy Young. So
yeah, although I guess this is not something that's entirely new to Carrasco.
No,
he's had some bouts of this kind of soreness, and obviously, we talked about his, the kind of pitcher he's been in that. So hopefully, it's just a couple of days rest and he'll be back.
Right. I think that's all it's going to be because Rojas did say he's probably going to face live batters next week at some point. So, it's probably only just maybe a week off, a few days. He'll be fine. So, but in any event, McCann, the new catcher, went on record as saying he's ready to prove that the Mets made the right choice in signing him over JT Realmuto. So, hey,
he was a lot cheaper.
Didn't Realmuto break his thumb or something?
Realmuto is having an issue. Yeah, I think he did. I think he broke his thumb. Yeah.
So that worked out good for the Mets.
That worked out good. Absolutely. I said it all along. You remember when we first started talking about this at the end of last season? I said McCann's the guy to go with. Don't waste the money on Realmuto. McCann's not Realmuto, but he's not really. He's a good, solid catcher, and hands down, 10 times the catchers that you've had lately. So
the only thing I would say to McCann is just be quiet. Don't jinx yourself.
Exactly.
You're on the Mets now. Don't say it.
But the only thing I say that they have to do is they have to just work on their defense a little bit more because, I mean, as of Monday, they had 8 errors.
Leave it at that.
Games. Just, they hopefully, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they put, was it a couple of games they put McNeil over at third base and J.D. Davis at second. What are you doing? McNeil's a natural second baseman. And
I know, but look, if you're gonna try
something now, try it in spring training. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, or could be an exercise to try and I would say with Davis probably more than McNeil, maybe increase his focus.
I suppose.
Maybe if he's having some issues, you go, well, let's put him in a different position where he's really going to have to bear down and keep his head, about him. Maybe I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? But,
maybe they're just having fun. Hey, let's switch positions.
Exactly. That could be too. So, anyway, but the pitching's looking decent. Edwin Diaz pitched. Edwin Diaz pitched his first relief appearance yesterday. He had a 1-2-3 inning, struck out 2. So hey, you know what? It's spring training, but what are you going to do?
Just in case you guys didn't know, Jay Bruce is hitting .455 with 2 home runs. Just to let you know.
Well, it's spring training.
Certainly is. That's what we're talking about, aren't we?
Well, let's speaking of Jay Bruce, let's talk about the Yankees. Let's actually not talk about Jay Bruce though. Let's talk about Zach Britton. How do you feel about that?
I honestly don't know what's going on with Zach Britton, but
you haven't heard?
No.
He's having surgery because he's got a bone chip in his left elbow.
Yeah.
and it's a 6-week recovery, but he could be out 3 months.
Yeah, that's just the way the Yankees pitching goes. You know, it's this is why you can never have enough pitching.
This is true.
You know, Britton didn't impress me last year.
No.
And if it's 3 months, maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, maybe it is. But,
I don't know.
Well, what does that mean for what does it mean for Chapman if he's out for 3 months? You know?
It means that Chapman's going to have to earn his money and actually pitch and not be a nut job.
But Britton was pretty impressive 2 years ago.
Well, before he was
very
on the Yankees.
impressive. Prior to coming to the Bronx.
Yeah.
Still, the potential's there.
Right.
I mean, it definitely puts more of a load on their closers, but I honestly think the Yankees have 2 or 3 guys who could close if they need to. The real deal is, can we not? Chapman didn't have a lot of opportunities last year. I think that was part of the problem with him going into the playoffs. I actually like when he's pitching more. I like when he's in games more often. And this idea that, if the game is out of hand one way or the other, you don't pitch your closer. I think that's kind of hurt some of these guys who need some repetition. You don't want to blow their arms out, and you certainly don't want to overwork them. But last year, I think that hurt Chapman.
Right.
And I think kind of there's sort of a trend with closers now in the game, generally speaking. If you have a guy who's your closer and you're heading into the season and he has a rough patch, he struggles, and you switch him out, he often doesn't get a chance to come back, right? Whoever the guy you put in his place to close, if he has success, he's your new closer.
Right.
And some guys like Britton, I think, are, kind of able to sort of bounce around and do what they need to do. A guy like Chapman, Chapman would be a closer, or he would be nothing.
Britton's the setup guy, and that's just the way it is. The Yankees are all in on Chapman. They brought him back after they traded him to the Cubs.
Right, but I'm saying if Britton comes, let's say Britton wasn't hurt, and you went into the season and Chapman was struggling, and so you made Zach Britton your closer.
Right.
He could do that. But
absolutely, he was a closer.
But I don't know if Chapman would thrive as a setup guy.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Chapman's a closer.
Some guys that could do either, kind of, play multiple roles. Chapman doesn't seem like that guy.
Yeah.
He's either a closer or he's nothing.
I mean, being a Yankees fan, it's hard to talk about closers because we've been spoiled for so long. And I never, ever, ever feel comfortable with any of the Yankees closers in the game. I mean, it goes back to when, what's his name, who's now a Met, was the setup guy or the part-time closer. They're unpredictable. They're unpredictable. And, last year, everybody talked about the Yankees bullpen.
So you haven't been happy since Mo retired?
Not really, no. I mean,
well, it's hard. It's hard to be happy when you have the gold standard.
Chapman's blown the season for the Yankees 2 years in a row.
Sure. Yeah, he has.
And, I understand that. You're putting a guy in a tough position, and there's a lot of guys who have done that. But I think Chapman's the most overrated closer in baseball, and the Yankees are paying him a lot of money. And so he is to the Yankees pitching staff, what Stanton is to their lineup. If Britton was healthy, I don't understand why Britton's not their closer, to be honest with you. But Britton didn't really show up last year either. So I don't know. We'll see. It's
well, look, here's the good news if you're a Yankee fan. Stanton hit a home run, so he's okay.
He's excellent. Yeah, usually
he's good.
He's on the list.
He usually hits home runs when the Yankees are up 7-0 in the 6th or 7th inning. He's good. He's good at that. I don't know. Stanton actually had a bounce back year last year. Stanton was not the main problem for the Yankees. No. Gleyber Torres looks good. Gardner looks good. Jay Bruce looks good.
Yeah, well,
Gary Sanchez looks okay.
Gary Sanchez was going to say Gary Sanchez hit third home run.
And LeMahieu is LeMahieu. Yeah. So Judge is striking out a lot, but he had 2 hits today, and I don't think he had any strikeouts. So It's too early to tell yet.
Let me ask you, think, based on what you're seeing of Sanchez, and I know it's just spring training and it's early, but you think he could possibly be a 30 home run hitter this year?
No.
And
to me, the whole thing is what is 30? It's like averaging 25 points in the NBA now.
Sure.
It's does it help the team? He's a lie. If he hits a home run in a game, he has to hit 2 a game, I think, to make up for what
he does in the field.
What he's going to do in the field, And look, I will give Sanchez credit. There are times when Sanchez has come up big and has had a bad season and has had some clutch hits in big games.
Right.
I'm not going to give that against him, but I just think the time to trade Gary Sanchez was 2 to 3 years ago when they could have gotten something for him.
Gotcha.
And the Yankees seem to be stubborn when it comes to some of these big names that they're grooming,
holding on to. Holding on
to. Having said that, Herman gave up 1 hit in 3 innings. So Chapman pitched an inning and had 2 strikeouts and didn't give up a hit. So
Debbie Garcia looked good yesterday.
Garcia looked at the game where they lost 15-0 too. He's the only pitcher that looked good that game.
Right.
So I think they're going to be average in their starting pitching. It's just can you get 5 innings out of these guys? Can you not put that? It's that 5th, 6th, 7th inning that just gets
right.
You don't have David Robertson anymore to pitch 700 innings of 5th, 6th, 7th inning baseball.
He can come in the 4th inning and pitch the 8th inning
and then
game.
Do it again tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. I think one of those guys is going to become a middle reliever. And I think of somebody like a Garcia, if he's not a starter and can adapt to that sort of middle
Robertson role kind of thing, yeah.
Then I think that makes them even a little bit more dangerous. But I think you're going to see the Yankees go with a 5, maybe 6-man rotation.
Right.
And I just hope that Boone lets these guys pitch into the game a little bit more. I just felt like he started pulling pitchers way too early last year, and it just put a lot of pressure on his bullpen.
Right. No, definitely. He definitely did. That's a certainty.
But that's also the trend in baseball.
True. And so it's all you can get good 3, 4, maybe 4.5 solid innings out of your starters, and then put it in the bullpen and let them blow it.
Yeah. The Yankees need a Bob Wickman. Right? Wickman was a guy who would come and pitch 3 innings like every other day.
Right. That was Robertson. That was David Robertson. He was he's great at it. I mean, the Yankees have had a lot of those guys. Who was the guy who was was he from Ecuador or was he from Puerto Rico? I can't remember the pitcher that they had who was, this is back in the Mariano days. He was the setup guy. He was just fantastic. He went on he was part of the last World Series team, I believe.
Back in the 90s?
No, the last time the Yankees won.
Oh, in 09.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. My brain is shot. It's been a long week already. But they need pitching. Pitching.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Judge, did you hear what Judge said about Sanchez yesterday?
No.
Judge said that Gary Sanchez is working so hard. He's one of these guys that can go on a tear and could win the American League MVP.
Sure. Yeah.
So could I.
Yeah, and you're gonna see me playing power forward for the Knicks next week.
Please, can I see that?
Yeah,
I really want to see that.
I think I would buy tickets for that.
Yeah.
Courtside, baby.
I'd foul out.
Johnny.
Pete and I'll be sitting right there eating peanuts, watching you,
heckling the shit out of him.
That's right. Talk about semi-pro, old school. I just got to come in the game and start screaming at everybody. You get 6 fouls, use them all. You can't carry them over.
So you can't keep them for the next game.
Old-time basketball, Eddie Shore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the only guy playing basketball with a goalie waffle on my right hand.
There you go. Oh, please make this happen.
Oh, I definitely rock the knee pads.
We got
old school Patrick Ewing knee pads, without a doubt.
We got to call them. Let's call Make a Wish and see if
that's right.
see if we can get them involved in this.
Yeah.
No, he's not sick, but we'd really, really like to see this. If you could
trust me,
can help.
This is ratings gold.
If you can make this happen, then we'll contribute highly to the cause.
On another note, around the league, on High Heat the other day, yesterday I believe it was, Chris Russo reported that the Blue Jays are limiting George Springer's games in the outfield this year because of apparent problems with his legs.
Well,
so, did the Mets dodge a bullet?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, the Blue Jays can DH him, right? What are the Mets going to do? What would the Mets have been able to do? You know?
I think George Springer is one of those guys who could play for another 15 years and become Big Papi. He's one of those guys who seems to know how to get big hits.
Right.
And,
that's all well and good.
What's the problem with his legs? I mean, that's an ambiguous thing to say.
That was the report.
He's getting old, and
I guess. But 32 is getting old.
It's harder to run in Canada. I don't know.
Maybe that's something to do with it. But this report came out last week. Bauer pitched against the Padres with one eye closed.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he was quoted as saying,
"Pitched with one eye open, clutching his pillow."
Right. He was quoted as saying, "I figured if they can't score off me with one eye open, it's going to be more difficult to score off of me with two eyes open."
I kind of hate him.
Yeah.
He's definitely in the running for least likable.
Biggest dick.
He's the Draymond Green of baseball.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
The Rockies beat the Padres today. Rockies are 6-3.
Rockies are 6-3.
Rockies are 6-3.
Very nice.
Spring training ball.
The Angels are the only major league. This isn't new or anything. You could have figured this out, but I just saw it today, as a matter of fact. The Angels are the only Major League Baseball team to finish under 500 in each of the last 5 seasons.
With the best player in baseball.
With the best player in baseball on their team. You think Mike Trout is upset that he signed that contract?
I don't know. I think he's going to demand to be traded to the Brooklyn Nets.
He's going to do the Nets. Exactly where I was going with that. He's going to Nets next.
Fine with me.
Trout on the Nets. He's going to play center field.
Bring him on, everybody. Come on, let's go.
Center? No, center field. Oh.
Yeah.
There you go. But,
I think he's small forward material.
I don't know. He's hard to get a read on. I mean,
Trout?
He's never said anything about having any regrets or wanting to win a championship, not that comes to my mind.
There was something a few weeks ago. He was a little frustrated or something like that.
If you
wasn't a big story, but I saw it.
If you pay me that much money to wander around in the grass in Southern California and all summer long, I'm not going to care if I win a championship or not.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot to make me unhappy, but
right.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe he's just pissed off that he's not on the other LA team. That's might be the issue.
Listen, maybe he'll go to Toronto because Springer can't play every day.
Springer can't play, so they need him.
So we're going to bring in Mike Trout.
They're just going to trade for his legs.
Just get Trout's legs for Springer. There you go. There you go. Anyway, and opening day 3 weeks from tomorrow, Thursday, April 1st.
Yay!
Yeah, but and speaking of Springer, the Yankees open up at home on the 1st against the Blue Jays. So Mets don't open at home till a week later. But in any event,
who did the Mets open up against? The Cubs.
Mets open up at home.
No, the first game they play.
The first game they play is Washington's.
Washington, that's right.
They open up against the Nationals in Washington.
In Washington, yeah.
In Washington, and then a week later on the 8th, that's their home opener against the Marlins.
Mitch McConnell's going to throw out the first pitch.
Mitch McConnell's going to throw out the first pitch.
He's going to have 7 balls in his gullet, and he's like an umpire's bag in his neck.
There you go. In any event, pretty much wraps up baseball. You guys have anything else about baseball? I don't think so.
No, nope. I didn't even know about Zach Britton. I'm behind.
Yeah. That just it was just yesterday. So he's probably gonna be out for 3 months. That's what they're saying. So there you go.
Well, you live in a different time zone, so
I live. I mean, all I hear is people talking
it was
about
late yesterday,
the Broncos and whether or not they should sign Philip Lindsay to a long-term contract and who their quarterback's going to be.
There you go.
Talk about it. That is exciting stuff.
Well, on that note,
Speaking of football,
good segue. What do you think of the contract for Dak? What do you think?
I think it's what I expected. I don't know why it took so long, and he's still the best quarterback in the NFC East, but I'm the second best. So
please, I want to see that too.
Listen, Dak rather. I think he kind of won this battle.
Dak.
We went from Zach to Dak.
Could have signed him a while ago and paid him less money, but they didn't. He's making like what 100.
It's 160 for 4 years.
Right, but he's getting a ridiculous signing bonus.
85 total is the first year.
He's the top 15 quarterback in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I suppose that would make him the top half of the quarterbacks. I don't see why he wouldn't be in the top half.
I think so. Yeah.
Some would argue
Daniel Jones almost cracks the top half of the quarterback. So why wouldn't Dak be above?
Daniel Jones.
Well, 20. I meant
you'd probably look at Dak.
Daniel Jones 25, 26, 28. Yeah, Dak's way better than Daniel Jones.
25, 26, 28.
I think he might crack
39.
Well, let's kind of go through it. Who are you going to take over Dak?
Well, start it.
You're going to take Aaron Rodgers. You're going to take Mahomes, right?
Rodgers,
Mahomes,
Wilson,
Lamar.
Okay.
I'm going to
Josh
take
Allen,
Deshaun Jackson, Josh Allen.
I'm going to take Brady, Josh Allen, the guy, the kid from San Diego.
You take Herbert.
Yeah,
you take
Herbert.
Second year over Dak.
I take Herbert over Dak.
Josh Allen and Herbert over him. I'm going to take
Josh Allen. I agree.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about age or longevity. Just for next season, who would rather have it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you got Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes,
Josh Allen,
Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Herbert, Wilson, Russell Wilson.
There you go.
Stafford?
No,
not really.
I'm missing some. Hold on. I'd probably take.
How about Joe Burrow?
I would take Joe Burrow, and I would probably take Tua.
I was going to say Tua.
Okay, what about
I'm just trying
Trevor
to
Lawrence?
think of the other team. Trevor Lawrence. Well, yeah, he's not even in the NFL yet. But yeah, if I had to pick,
if I had to pick for next
year,
you
take Trevor Lawrence over Dak Prescott.
Were we talking about something like to win right now, like this year?
We're just talking about who's going to be better. Who's going to be a better quarterback next year?
Well, he's already out of the top 10.
Trevor Lawrence is going to be on a shitty team, so
yeah.
All right, so he's number 10 or 11 or
he's 11 or 12 somewhere in there. Yeah,
I don't know if I would. Well, Herbert's probably going to be great. I don't know if I would take him over Herbert for next year, but
Herbert looked damn good.
But I'm saying he's definitely top 15,
right?
And if you look at his career numbers, they're pretty good. I think his quarterback rating is like.
Is Drew Brees still a quarterback in the NFL? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And at this point, is Drew Brees better than Dak Prescott, though?
Yes.
No. Not. I mean, right now, not even mid-season last year. Drew Brees, right now after that injury, the way he played those last couple games, is he better than Dak?
Probably. I mean, I would take Baker Mayfield over Dak Prescott.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
I would take Matty Ryan.
What are they doing with what are they going to do with Matty Ryan?
Deshaun Watson. All
right, here's Dak's numbers.
Would you take Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I'd take Kyler Murray over Dak Prescott.
I wouldn't take Kyler Murray over
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I would take Lamar Jackson. I would take Tom Brady. I'd take Ryan.
Here's Dak Prescott's numbers. All right, 69 games, 66% completion percentage, 17,000 yards, 106 touchdowns, 40 INTs. Quarterback rating of 97.3.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
He's top 15.
Now, he hasn't He hasn't, won the big games and
it
had
puts
much
him in the top 15. It puts him in the top 15.
But those are pretty nice numbers.
Right.
Those
and
numbers.
Here's the thing is that you're losing Phillip Rivers, you're losing Drew Brees, you're losing guys that I would probably take over him. But I think
I would take either of those guys over him.
I would take Phillip Rivers over Dak Prescott. And for 1 year right now, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill?
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, Tannehill's numbers were really good.
Tannehill's numbers were great last year.
Yeah.
Last 2 years.
Yeah. But, yeah.
But well, here's the thing with that though, right? 160 million for 4 years. The contract they gave Zeke last year, the salary cap is getting lower. What did the Cowboys? And they got Amari Cooper with a ton of money. Where are they getting this money from?
Well, but the cap hit for Dak is 22 next season.
Okay, right.
So they've worked their magic.
Gotcha.
It's going to come back and bite them later on, but they're not
sure.
worried about and it's really a kind of
worry about later.
Yeah, it's really kind of a 6-year deal, which they can sort of like dump the last 2 years or.
I like Dak. I think he fits in well with that team. The thing is can you have two really expensive superstars on one side of the ball and still win games? Now, I think there's no reason why Dallas should not, with a healthy Dak Prescott, should not win the NFC East. We said that was the case last year. Washington's defense, whatever.
Well, listen, the Dallas. Well, you can say this Dallas defense only going the opposite way. They're terrible.
Sure,
right. And I heard the stat the other day. If you looked at, they broke down quarterbacks who where their team gave up 30 points or more, and Dak's numbers were right in line with some of the greats that we just mentioned as guys we'd put above him.
I like Dak. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback the Cowboys have had in a long time.
John Donovan just said $40 million for a year for a guy who's 10 to 15 in the league is ridiculous, is what he said.
But quarterbacks are going to always get way more than any other position, and maybe in any other sport.
He said his agent schooled Jerry Jones.
I agree. Because Jerry Jones was probably saying, who else is out here that we might be able to get to Dallas?
Right.
And I don't think Dallas. Right. We always talk about the Knicks and the cachet of going to play that's gone to play at Madison Square Garden. I think the cachet to play for the Cowboys is gone.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry Jones wasn't sure that he wanted that Dak was his guy,
and I still don't think he's sure
until recently when there was no one else, so he waited too long to make the deal, and Dak had all the leverage, and he cashed in on it. So good for him.
I think if Dak has a great year, you could put him in, as high as maybe 8, 9, 10. If he has a mediocre year, he's going to be in the middle of the pack. So, but he's better. That still makes him better than a hell of a lot of quarterbacks out there, and he's still the best quarterback in his division by far. Mm-hmm. By far.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean. His division, other than Daniel Jones, there are no, firm starting quarterbacks in either of the other two teams. So
and the only reason why Daniel Jones is a firm starter is because of the Giants' ownership.
Right there. They say Daniel Jones. They believe in him. They're hoping.
Of course they believe in him.
He's going to break out. His numbers are great.
Philly's going with Jalen Hurts, right? They said the other day he's our quarterback. We don't know if he's any good, but he's our quarterback.
Well, yeah, he's not proven, so you can't really put him up against it. So.
Yeah,
they didn't say it.
Well, right. I mean, they didn't say
John
that.
John said, by default, Dak is.
You mentioned Fitzpatrick. A lot of people. He's been mentioned in Washington. He's been mentioned in a couple places. Mm-hmm. The Broncos should just sign him.
Yeah,
They're not going to get anybody better. I would rather see. I'd rather see the Broncos draft another quarterback, have a couple of young guys on the team, let them sort of follow behind Fitzpatrick. If Drew Lock wants to battle for the starting position, then that's great. Yeah. But he's better. He's a better option than Teddy Bridgewater. He's a better option than some of these other guys that are going to float around. And I think he'd be a better guy to kind of teach some of these younger draft picks the ropes. I don't know why Fitzpatrick isn't. I don't think is going to want to sit behind Tua again in Miami.
I don't think he is. And let me ask you this though, just pulling this out: if the Jets are indeed going to move away from Sam Darnold and trade him and get whatever, and there's an interesting.
Well, they're going to draft a quarterback,
right? Well,
what they do with Darnold is irrelevant.
Well, I'm just saying there's an interesting trade. There's an interesting trade theory here. I'll pose in a second, but if they're going to move away from him and they're going to draft Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or whatever, it's probably Zach Wilson. Instead of throwing him to the Wolves, bring in Fitzpatrick for a year or two and let him play behind him, let him learn from him, let him groom him, And
he's perfect for any of those teams that are going to be
any of those teams. He's perfect for that.
If
job.
Sam Darnold is not going to be, if you're not going to commit to Sam Darnold being your quarterback, then there's no reason to keep him. Whether you're going to trade,
the only reason why you would keep him is because there might not be anybody else who wants him.
Right. But
you're going to get something for him.
Yeah,
you're going to get something from something. You're going to get a second round or whatever from him.
And there's been talk of him coming here to Denver. There's still talk of Deshaun Watson coming here.
Yeah, well, I think that's what the Jets. If the Jets don't get Deshaun Watson, then they're going to draft. I think Deshaun Watson would be.
But remember that horrible head coach the Giants had? Well, he's the Denver offensive coordinator, and by the way, he brought all his buddies from Minnesota. So I think you're going to see Teddy Bridgewater playing for the Broncos. Probably. I think Deshaun Watson. I would love to see Deshaun Watson go to the. I think you're going to see the NFL season start and Deshaun Watson be on the Texans, just
not playing,
unwilling to play.
Yeah, he's committed. Well, listen. Bridgewater's not a terrible option.
No, not at all.
I
think he could obviously extend more plays. I think Fitzpatrick would be a better fit, but
here's that trade option. The trade that was posed. I read it online today. Whatchamacallit? The Jets, should they take?
Who proposed this? Jimmy from fucking from Parsippany?
Jimmy from fucking Parsippany. As a matter of fact, it was on his blog titled Jimmy from fucking Parsippany.
Yeah, it was Spike from Oyster Bay.
There you go. But it was that should they take Zach Wilson, move on from Darnold. They trade Darnold, and they also have the 23rd pick. Obviously, they got to get back from Seattle for the whole hello.
Doesn't matter.
Adams, thank you. Trade. But trade Darnold and the 23rd pick to a team for a lower first round pick, like something, 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. So the teams only pick, they get Darnold and they get a pick only, 10, 11, 12 picks higher for that pick.
Right.
And then with that, they can draft, depending on who's still available. They can either draft Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, and a wide receiver. Right. So then they wind up walking away from the first round of the draft with Zach Wilson and one of those receivers.
That sounds like a perfect draft scenario made up by a Jets fan who's delusional.
Of course,
yeah.
But you know what, though? You're absolutely right. It sounds
the team I could see Darnold winding up on is
it's that big of a stretch for a team
Washington.
That needs a quarterback.
I can picture him being on Washington.
Right. It doesn't sound like it's that big of a stretch for a team that needs a quarterback but has the 13th pick. They're not going to get Zach Wilson. They're not going to get Justin Fields. They're not going to get obviously they're not going to get Trevor Lawrence. So who are they going to get? Boom, they get Sam Darnold. They're interested in Sam Darnold. Boom, they still have a first-round pick, and they get Sam Darnold for that little bit higher pick, and it affords the Jets to get a wide receiver.
Which team is this that you're talking about?
I don't know. He
he
didn't pose a team. Somebody in the upper teens. A team in the
the team that I could also picture, and this is right in their wheelhouse of going after quarterback. Yeah. The other place I could picture Darnold playing is Chicago.
Actually, I could.
It's the Iron City Hummingbirds team that's going to make that deal for Sam.
Yeah.
You don't think they're going to bring? They're going to. Foles is going to come back, and
it's the Roosevelt. What's that?
You don't think Foles is going to come back and play and start in Chicago?
I don't know. I don't think they're committed. I don't think they're committed.
Yeah, well, then they're going to just have the same controversy they had last year.
Will it be a controversy? It could be the same situation, though, where, if it's not Darnold, I don't know, maybe it's a younger guy and Foles plays. I don't know. Right. There's, again, 10 good quarterbacks in this league. There's way more than 10 teams. So, and there's probably maybe another 3 or 4 teams that are solidified. We're sticking with these quarterbacks. So
right.
The rest of it's up for grabs. How have you ever gone into an NFL season where there's so many teams that are just undecided or uncommitted on their quarterback?
No, this is definitely
and even the teams that have a great quarterback, that quarterback
still questioning
isn't committed to that team anymore.
And it's not like there's 30 great quarterbacks in this
draft.
There's
6, and there's
3,
10,
and there's 3
good
decent
ones.
Yeah.
There's 10 good ones,
right?
And the rest are trying to see who can stick.
Right. Right. Well, and one other note on the Jets, they put the franchise tag on Marcus May, $11 million.
The Giants went with Leonard Williams,
and the Giants put the franchise tag on Leonard Williams. I got something to say about that too.
I think
that's what I wanted to bring up to you guys, since you're both Giants fans. A lot of talk about Dave Gettleman and some stupid things that he has done, and one of them is putting the franchise tag on Williams. And now you're going to potentially, if you don't sign, you got to sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Well, by July something, the 15th or whatever.
By July 15th,
or you're going to pay him $19 million.
$19.3 million. But that's, you know what? That's going to be that number if they're not going to sign him to an extension.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If they don't sign him, you're going to.
Right, they're working on a deal. The deal would probably wind up being around $20 million a year, because that's what the going rate for that type of a player is right now.
But how many more years does Williams have in?
Yeah, he's in his fourth year?
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, here's the thing. I just want to bring this up as far as Leonard Williams goes. The NFL site on Instagram posted about the franchise tag for Leonard Williams, that just in or whatever, and there was a ton of comments on it. Someone commented on the NFL, some random person commented on it saying he's leaving next season anyway. That was his comment. Do you know who one of the first likes of that comment was?
Leonard Williams.
He got a ton of onslaught of DMs, direct messages, and others posting on Instagram and Twitter about it. So within a few hours, he unliked it. But if he's so into staying on the Giants, why is he liking that comment? Is that just being?
I don't know. Listen, maybe
that's being a 25-year-old.
He could be bitter that they didn't sign him to a long-term deal already.
Hopefully they do.
Maybe he wants to stay with the Giants. He feels disrespected.
Mm-hmm. I don't think any of these guys give a shit about anything other than a long-term contract that overpays them and has a guarantee. I really don't think so. No. I don't think they give a shit. Right. Williams is 26 years old. So 26. Quite honestly, he's got 3 to 4 years left. That's just the reality now. These guys don't. Their peak is just not as long as it used to be. You're not going to see Reggie White at 35 getting 12 sacks. It's just not going to happen.
No, you're right. But let me ask you this though: Do you think that if he's not going to take a 4-year deal, he's going to want a longer deal than that?
I think they should offer him a 4-year deal.
I think it's probably going to be a 4-year, $20 million a year deal.
And I think they should have. I think they should have offered it and signed him so they could have franchised somebody else.
Exactly. Yep. That's the point though. Because if they don't take it, they're spending almost $20 million this year anyway because they franchise tagged them.
But the Giants might have offered that. You don't know.
We don't know the deal with
their
that.
agents are always telling these guys, "Don't take anything. Don't take anything."
Right.
Yeah, but we didn't really hear anything about it. Usually there's
something leaks and you get something out of it. But
I like Williams. I'll be honest. I think the Giants were in a situation where they had to franchise him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't let him go.
They would have been thrilled if they didn't.
Right.
Well, let me ask you about Gettleman made some other comments. Obviously, he backed Daniel Jones. He's our guy. We kind of expect him to do that. But he was talking about contracts and not wanting to restructure contracts, and that he likes a contract where the cap hit is flat. So if it's a 5-year contract and it's $100 million and it's $20 million a year, and he thinks that restructuring can lead to a lot of problems, and you have to pay the piper later on down the road. I wanted to get your opinion on that because it doesn't seem to me like that's how the NFL works.
No, he's the only one that's going to
constant restructuring of contracts, and
Absolutely.
That's how you bring in some of that extra talent that you need to play alongside your superstars,
especially for superstars who understand that, hey, I'm good. I wasn't as good as I was 4 years ago, or hey, I'm really good, but I'm not going to ever win a championship if I don't have other guys next to me. And my top 3 years are the next 3 years.
Yeah, but I can stay here and make my money.
Many guys are like that?
Right. I can stay here and make my money and not win anything, or we can restructure and I'll take a little less now and get it on the back end of things, and we'll bring in some talent to help me win. But now I don't know if that's Gettleman's philosophy or if that is the team's philosophy, Because a lot of times when you're either paying on the back end, or in the case of Dak Prescott, where you're giving him a boatload of money, that money's got to come out of Jerry Jones's pocket, right?
Sure.
That's $75 million signing bonus or whatever the hell he's getting.
Right.
That's, so maybe, I mean, who's got the money amongst the Giants ownership? Tisch is the money man, right?
I'm never, ever going to give Gettleman the benefit of the doubt until he proves me wrong.
Right.
He's just made some
shitty
decisions.
Yeah, well, but that's my question. Do you think that's his philosophy, or that's
his philosophy?
That's the team.
No,
the ownership's philosophy.
It's his because they've restructured deals before. So that's
well,
totally,
right. He didn't say we're never going to do it. He just was kind of like, you want to avoid this as much as possible.
In the past, I think it has been the ownership's philosophy, but in the past, it's worked. Nowadays, it's a constant shuffle to make sure that you're under that cap hit.
Yeah.
And, look at Roethlisberger. He restructured. A lot of times it's restructuring people's contracts, not so much of what you're going to eventually pay them, but what the cap hit is.
Right.
Because there's differences to all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, look, Brady did it how many times?
Brady did it for years and years and years and years.
And it's not like they were bringing in superstars either. Right. It's just, he did it so he could get 4 or 5'8" white guys. Yeah, he's like
7 second 40.
We need another 5'6", white guy receiver. I'll take less money.
Yeah.
But the other thing, which now I'm forgetting what I wanted to. Gettleman was, of course, also defending what they've done with the offensive line, which seems like it. I mean, it's an absolute bust right now. They're going to, because they have no space against the cap, they're going to be getting rid of veterans now. The offensive line could perhaps be even younger than it was last year. And he's like, I think we've done a good job. I don't know how this guy keeps his job.
I don't get it either. I really, really don't. But the only plus is there, though. A lot of the money, a lot of cap hit that they're gonna, the cap room that they're gonna gain by getting rid of anybody in the offensive line is going to come in a couple of players that really didn't contribute a lot last year, like Solder.
I think they got to look at Solder and restructuring his contract if he wants to play. I actually think that Nate Solder has another good year left in him. He has to.
Well, here's one benefit for all of the offensive line on that is that they hired they restructured some of the coaching staff, and they hired Pat Flaherty as a offensive line consultant, like they wanted to do. Remember when Mark Colombo got fired last year because he wanted to bring in Dave DeGuglielmo as a consultant? Well, Rob Sale is now the offensive line coach, and he knows whatchamacallit. Judge is familiar with Rob Sale from they coached together in Alabama, and Sale was just in University of Louisiana. But he's the offensive line coach. But they hired Pat Flaherty as the offensive line consultant, and Pat Flaherty had all those great, solid offensive lines back in the
Is he going to fix Andrew Thomas?
Who knows? Who knows?
I think what the Giants don't need an offensive line coach. They need a psychiatrist. Look, Soldier's the first guy to admit it. I mean, he's not in a good spot mentally.
Right.
He's not in a good spot emotionally. The same thing, I think. These guys, I don't know what's going on, but it's they're stuck in a tough situation, the Giants. And that's why I'm saying they need to get something out of Soldier, because they can restructure his contract. They need to get something out of these guys that they've committed to that have been underperforming.
Right.
But if they're going to get, some room against the cap, you're going to potentially lose guys like Hernandez or who's the other guy?
Yeah.
I think. And so
Will Hernandez is what? He's only been around 2 years, and they're releasing him already.
Yeah, right. So then what are you going to do? You're going to bring Solder back. He's going to play left tackle. You move Thomas to the right side.
Right.
I think that's you have to do it.
Well, this is but my point is you're going to be bringing in some new guys.
Right.
And always. Right. But if you're going to bring in 2 or 3 new guys on the offensive line, you're not going to expect them to gel and be great. And that's really what you need, right? You're going to give the ball to Saquon, and he's not going to have any blocking. You're going to have Daniel Jones
dropping. The other guy, John Donovan just said.
You're going to have Daniel Jones dropping back and having no protection. I think they released him, right? Yeah.
They released him, yeah. He said, John Donovan just said, Jones is their guy, and yet they released their best offensive lineman.
Right, that's what I mean. You're letting these guys go because you have no cap room, and you're going to bring in – you're going to move guys around. You should get Solder back, and he's been what, he was the highest paid lineman, I think, in the league when they brought him in, right?
When they brought him
signed
in, he was the highest, yeah.
And he's been, I wouldn't say a bust, but he hasn't been.
Well, he had one bad year, and he didn't play last year.
Yeah,
he's in a bad place. I think he's got some serious mental health issues.
I thought he just opted out because of COVID.
He's not.
That's what he was quoted.
He was quoted as saying that he realizes that mental health or being in a good mental state is the most important thing, and that's what he's working on. Right. And
well, that's the guy you want at left tackle, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Give him some rosary beads, and
I guess my point is, how much time do you give Dave Gettleman?
Right, well, here.
I mean, he's good.
But if it was up to John and I, he'd have been gone 2 years ago.
Absolutely. And we talked about offensive line. My perfect scenario is, and if I don't know if either of you recall, as I was talking about the other time, they should have picked with that first pick. They should have taken Tristan Wirfs.
Absolutely. And they should be taking an offensive lineman this year.
And they took Andrew Thomas. And Andrew Thomas, okay, yeah, he had a decent year in Georgia, but Tristan Wirfs. They passed over Tristan Wirfs to get him. And what did Tristan Wirfs do this year? Oh, nothing. I just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I still think Thomas. I still think that might work out. Again, yes, they should. But
I wouldn't call him a bust yet. But
that is how you win on the offensive line is through the draft. You have to draft offensive linemen. Those are guys that you can get in the second, third, even fourth round that can wind up becoming good players, but you have to be able to draft them. And that's where the Giants, I think, especially with Gettleman's lead, they have not been able to find those guys. And in the past, the Giants have always been able to draft offensive linemen and wide receivers. They've always been good at that. And defensive linemen.
They have not good.
They've always been good at that. And they have not had any of that in the last X years since Gettleman's been on board.
Oh, yeah. Well,
don't forget about Flowers. It was a bright spot.
Oh, he was a huge bright spot.
Forgot about him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know all the names. I heard the guys on the radio talking about this today, but there's a list of failures.
Yeah.
In the Gettleman regime at offensive line.
Bart Oates is not coming back.
No. Is there's no Bart Oates Jr.?
Probably.
How can there not be a Bart Oates Jr.?
I want Jumbo Jr.
Jumbo Elliott was not even the best.
No, I just want Jumbo Jr.
Right, Jumbo Jr.
No, his name's Jimbo, actually.
Jumbo's Jr. is Jimbo.
Jimbo.
Said, I don't want to be just Jumbo Jr. I want to be the first Jimbo, not the second Jumbo.
Yeah, supersized Junior.
Supersized Junior. Well, to wrap up Giants talk, just to put this out there in case you guys haven't heard or anybody else is listening hasn't heard, you heard about obviously the last couple seasons or whatever they did. Peyton Manning did Peyton's Places on ESPN Plus. Well, starting this fall on ESPN Plus is going to be Eli's Places.
Great.
Riveting. There's only one person more riveting than Peyton Manning. That's Eli Manning.
Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? It seems like years ago now at the beginning of the podcast. Blake Griffin is going to have a TV show. I heard a promo for it the other day. I don't know if you've heard this. And it's going to be like a double prank show where they pull pranks on known pranksters. It sounds absolutely horrendous, but I think
I thought there was a punchline coming.
I thought it was a joke too.
No. I heard it and I was listening to it, or maybe it was on TV while we were having dinner, and I just remember I thought it was going to be like
a 30 for 30 on Blake.
No. He's
going to be
been on a couple of celebrity roasts.
Yeah, this is going to. I don't know. This is a vehicle that they're creating for him.
He has been on a bunch of celebrity roasts.
We both looked at each other and we went, "That just sounds terrible."
Maybe he should work. Maybe before he does that, he should just work on his layups.
Well, I think he's. My point is, he's probably not going to be around for too much longer. Although his basketball career, I think, is going to last longer than the TV show because it just sounds absolutely terrible. He might have to play. He might have to play for the Nets for a couple more
years because of that.
Right.
I think the show starts in a couple months or something like that. But
he's going to be on Bay Ridge Basic Cable.
Bay Ridge Basic Cable. The show gets shown between Avenue A and Avenue U. That's it. Just
in Bay Ridge and Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Between the hours of 1 a.m. and 1:30 a.m.
Lakes, Bay Ridge, Evening News.
Gotta love it. All right. It's not a whole hell of a lot going on in the NHL.
How about those Rangers?
Islanders.
Rounders.
I don't know.
Well, Keith Kincaid was in the net last night. He's the first American goalie for the Rangers in 17 years. And Jack Johnson got his first point as a Ranger last night too. And Penguins won the game 4-2. But Islanders on a 6-game win streak. They beat the Bruins.
It's because they keep playing the Bruins and they
they
have
keep
their
playing the
number.
Bruins. That's right.
Who was it? Was it? Weren't they? Who was it? Somebody was playing the Sabres over and over again. And they keep beating the Sabres. Was that the? I forget which team that was.
It's got to be the Islanders.
A couple of weeks ago, it was like because other teams couldn't play, and it was like, oh, I guess we'll play the Sabres again.
Let's play. That's hey, you want to play a game? Yeah, let's play. We'll play tonight. So, and the Devils, they lost last night, but they were down 4-1 to the Caps, and they came back and tied it up, and then lost in overtime. But,
that sounds like the Devils.
Exactly, but it's just the only reason we got into NHL. Oh, I forgot to put the crawl on. Look at that. Harry, last week Pete brought up last week after you amscrayed the show early about the playoff structure for the NHL. What's your take on that? Pete, you wanna?
Well, the point that I was making is these teams are only playing in their divisions, right?
And they're multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're going to have essentially 4 teams that you're going to have division conferences like in the tournaments, like in the NCAA, and then you're going to have teams that come out and head into the playoffs to play against other teams they've never played against for the whole year. So my question was like, how do you seed these guys? How do you?
I don't know.
How does Vegas do that?
Everything this year is just I feel the same way about the fourth quarter of the NBA All-Star game. It's just it's the NHL. I mean, it's been the one sport where holy shit, the season starts and then 2 weeks later you start the playoffs and 4 months later you have the Stanley Cup Finals. It's I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious who the top teams are, and I think seeding is. Yeah, it's going to be a little weird, but at the end of the day, it might be interesting. I don't know. I mean, it's again, I'm just hoping that a team that's not named after a natural disaster or located in Florida or the Carolinas wins it. I just want the Maple Leafs to win a Stanley Cup. Can we have that? I don't know.
Listen, it seemed like they're for real this year.
Hey, the Islanders are up. The Islanders are up to number 6 in the NHL power ratings on ESPN right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got the obvious Tampa Bay and Vegas, and then Toronto 3rd, and then Carolina, Florida, and the Islanders. Mm-hmm. The Capitals 7th, the Bruins 8th. And I don't know. It's interesting this year in the NHL. It was interesting last year too, and I kind of liked the playoffs last year in the NHL. I thought it was kind of interesting because it seemed like much like the NBA team, these younger teams being in the bubble seemed to perform better than they would have if it was a normal situation. So maybe this year, maybe we'll see something. I don't know. It's I think you're right though. It's like old school NCAA, when no one played anybody outside of their conference.
Oh, okay, here
and then you go to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Here we go. So here it is. I finally found it. The regular season wraps up on May 8th, and the league will return to a 16-team best-of-7, 4-round playoff format.
Yeah.
4 teams from each division will qualify. First 2 rounds will be intra-divisional play.
Mm-hmm.
Then the
Which
4
it used
division,
to be.
Right. Then the 4 division winners will advance to the semis, reseeded based on their regular season point totals, which I guess is the fairest way to do it.
Yeah.
The 2 semifinal teams will play in the Stanley Cup final. So there you go. I guess that makes more sense.
But to your point, for those divisions that are playing better, then it's going to be harder. But there is a lot of parity right now. I mean, Vegas has 23 wins, Toronto has 27, the Islanders have 26, Tampa Bay has 24, Carolina. There's some parity. I think it's going to work out this year just because it seems pretty balanced from top to bottom.
Right. Well.
Who's going to have the best? They could put advertisements on the side of the helmets, I guess.
There you go.
Who's going to have the best ads? Which team will have the best ads?
Definitely the Columbus Blue Jackets.
There you go. Well, the fact that you just said that, the fact that they're going to reseat them according to their record and their points from the regular season makes all the sense, Nan.
So it's just going to be weird to see two teams that haven't seen, potentially haven't seen each other all year, and now they're heading into a playoff series.
That's the only odd,
to the finals. That's going to be, very strange. It's
right.
I mean, that's the way the World Series. That's the way the World Series was, and still can be for years and years. It's the way it's the way the NFL playoffs could be. There's a lot of times you play somebody that you haven't played in the regular season.
Sure.
Right. But there's also,
far less games.
With teams that play entire divisions right over the course of a season that are different, different divisions.
And that's the other thing.
It's going to be interesting to see how Vegas handles it.
Obviously, it's an abbreviated season, but it's obviously many, many more games than it should be. And all they're doing is playing the same teams over and over again, like you said before, Harry, with the was it the Islanders playing the Bruins 6 times in 2 weeks?
Yeah. Right. It's like you get to know who's good amongst that, in that division, obviously.
Right.
But
exactly.
But back in the day, that's the way it always used to be, even in basketball, where you had divisions and you always played way more games in division, and there was you played 1 or 2 games against the rest of the other teams. Hockey used to be the same way back in the day. There was far less teams. I mean, hockey's the one league where I would say hockey's doubled the amount of teams over the course of the last 20 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
when they started, it was 6 teams, right? In the NHL.
Well,
6
but even going back into the how many teams have they added in the last 20 years?
A lot.
Quite a few.
Yeah, very much. And
then 25 years.
And then next year's another team coming in.
Right.
Seattle.
The
Kraken. Release the Kraken. So
at least you could almost picture hockey being played in Seattle. It's like this
is true. Almost.
Some of these teams, I don't even know. I don't even know what their names are.
They're going to be it's going to be a close ride to play the Canucks.
That's right.
So, bing, bang, boom. So, anyway, well, there you go. That's hockey for it, and then we'll just touch on NCAA Selection Sundays this Sunday.
Talk about a strange. How do you pick this?
How do you pick this? How do you do this? 6 o'clock this Sunday night, and the tournament begins next Thursday on the 18th. It could be interesting. The men's Big
East,
is.
It always is.
It's always going to be, right? Yeah. But Big East tournament got underway today. The Huskies are the favorite, is what everybody's saying. But St. John's and Seton Hall, they'll compete. And St. John's played great down the stretch. But it's probably the Huskies to take. And Rutgers, begins. Obviously, they're in the Big Ten. I think they play Indiana first. But you think Rutgers is going to be in the tournament? Think they're going to get selected?
No.
Who cares?
No.
Well,
I mean, let me rephrase that. I don't care.
You don't care. There you go.
No, I can't.
I just thought you might have been curious, but overall, on the Selection Sunday thing, it should be an interesting year. And I mean, it's like you said, it's always interesting, but it should definitely be this year should be interesting.
To me, what's interesting heading into this is Gonzaga, who is no longer that pesky mid-major. They are undefeated.
Yeah.
And as I am reading this, there have only been 7 teams who have gone undefeated and won the national championship in the tournament era.
Wow.
The latest being Indiana in 75 and 76. And then a few times UCLA.
So it's been 45 years since a team went undefeated and won the tournament.
Well, and then when was the last time a Big Ten team was, I mean, there's a lot this year that's going on that could be pretty interesting.
To me, that's in other words, we have an opportunity to see something that is not done very often. So
it would be
that's exciting.
Hey,
I always look forward to that sort of thing.
I could hop on the Gonzaga bandwagon for a tournament.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Who's the white guy with the ironic mustache this year?
I think the coach.
Yeah,
there you go. That's funny. Good stuff. Well, on that note, I guess there's nothing else we got to talk about, right? There's nothing else.
Not really.
No. Okay, well, let's wrap up the show then for today. We want to thank everyone for watching, and for those of you listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lagerum.com. That's LAGERROM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday at 7:30. And for those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch some spring training baseball. NBA starts back up again. Selection Sunday is on Sunday. Enjoy it all, and we will talk to you soon, guys. Take care. Cheers.
Oh, one final note about the White Shadow. Great theme song.
Great.
Excellent theme song.
We should pull that up for next year and use it for a segment or something.
We should. And the song for the fish that saved Pittsburgh was a good song, too. So add both of those to your Spotify playlist.
Put them both on there.
There we go. All right. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Look at the little Tula. She's talking to the producer there. And a man in a jumpsuit.